too accustomed to. But other than that, I hope it was fruitful and productive and all of those things. Thanks for being here today. As always, if you're driving around town, listening on 93.3, appreciate you doing that. And if you are, of course, part of the YouTube group that jumps in every day on Warchant TV, we appreciate that greatly as well. Thanks for doing that. And thanks to all of you here in the chat. So away we go. I wondered when it would happen. I did wonder. I thought, like, in the past, you could identify moments. You could identify a player or two or a series or two in which you thought the effort wasn't there. You thought that maybe there was some passivity. There were times where you could question the vigor in which the players took the field and played. But I think this was the first time, would you say somewhere maybe middle second quarter? I'd say about middle second quarter where you could identify collectively a group that had gone ahead and packed it in for the day and was looking forward to getting off the field. Just the going through the motions, and yeah, certainly there would be a player or two on either side of the ball that would never do that. So I don't want to blanketly say that every single player on the field on Saturday quit, but a lot of them did. Enough did that collectively it felt like this was the first time you could say their heart wasn't in it anymore. They didn't want to be there. They didn't feel like playing football. They didn't try like people try when they're competing. You just didn't see it. And, I wonder then what you do because that probably is an indicator, and I say probably, stranger things have happened, but it's an ominous sign for the remaining games. Like, I didn't think they were going to win them anyhow, but now I'm almost certain that you're going to see a level of football that is, I don't know if it's astonishing because you've already seen that, but it's not really worth watching. It's not something that you should invest in. It's not anything that you should waste your time with if we're not going to play. Like, if you're not going to play, if you're not going to compete, you really just kind of, I don't know, you're cutting out 3 to 4 hours of your weekend that could be better spent with friends and family watching other teams who are competing. And it breaks my heart to say it's probably not good for my business, I can tell you that. But it's also just heart-wrenching because that's my school, and, the same sort of pain that you feel watching this is what I feel. And I'm done being, angry. I'm just sort of, all right, well, when will we announce changes? There's a part of me that could argue it's almost offensive they haven't made a change yet. In some ways, you may want to, I mean, this product is so awful and these results so pathetic, you would almost think that, is there somebody you could identify to offer up as a clear indicator?
As tribute.
Yeah, but Tom, the funny thing about it is, and I'll get into this in a second, not the funny thing, the interesting thing about it is you are reaching a place in the schedule, though, given how condensed recruiting is now and the end of the year stuff that happens in December, to where you would start to maneuver. I do think, I will not be surprised, let's put it that way, I will not be surprised if firings happen soon, if some people are let go. And you've got analysts and ex-players and coaches and other assistants that could do the job that the person ahead of them is currently doing in terms of readying a player or teaching from a mistake or whatever it might be, adjusting to a look. You've got guys on staff that could do that for those that are higher up on the totem pole currently not getting anything out of the current crop of players. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens after the Notre Dame game. You've got a bye week after that. You've got Charleston Southern. You've got you could do it after this game against, well, you could have done it weeks ago, but you could do it now after this game against Notre Dame, and then the bye week gives you some time. You may want to start sending out messages to anybody who is thinking about coming to play for Florida State. You do realize that this is a recruiting class that, what do you think, is going to be in the 50s?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have anybody. I'll give you an example. If you decided I'm going to let Ron Dugans go, I'm going to use him as an example. You would do it because you'd say that the receivers aren't getting any better. They've played terribly all year. And, oh, by the way, all of his recruits have decommitted. So what does it say you do here? You could just move on. Nothing's being done anyhow. You could just move on. That's not me trying to make Ron Dugans take the fall for this blank show. I'm just saying, if you were strategically deciding, okay, well, maybe I'll do that because I can get a head start on maybe sending messages to receivers out there who we might be bringing in. Or I can send the signal. I don't know. I don't know at this point. I don't know how much good it does you. It certainly doesn't salvage anything for this year. I just think it's probably true that somebody will be fired.
Well, but it felt like if you weren't going to do it after the Miami game, which was a natural landing spot, typically a loss to a rival is a place where a lot of people, a lot of organizations, athletic departments understand here's a window. Sorry about that, guys, but here's the change, from a PR perspective. The next opportunity was this coming weekend.
Yeah, it'll be
because of the bye week, and then you have Charleston Southern in Florida, and that gives you a 3 or 4 week jump on the process. Mike was asked that question directly today.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he has made decisions, but I agree with you. Like, at what point, what workflow is worth going through this? Are you hurting yourself more by prolonging something, especially if the conversation had been had with an assistant coach, like, hey, I'm so sorry that I failed you. You failed me to a degree, but I'm the head coach. I failed you. We're going to have to separate, at the end of the year. Like, if you're willing to have that conversation now, and who knows if he did, but if he did, you might as well at that point make the change, or else the kids can sense it. Alex Atkins spoke on that today. He said, he was asked a question by Aslan about our coaches looking towards the next thing, thinking big picture. And he said, well, we would be hypocrites if we did. That's essentially his answer, is that, if we're asking kids to be engaged and we're not doing it ourselves, and that's not the right thing. But it's just that it's in the air. Everybody knows it's in the air. And it used to be different, where the players were thinking, oh God, who's going to be my next coach? I'm stuck here. Like, that was the way it was not that long ago. Now the coaches are looking at the players are looking at the coaches, and they're kind of like subtext, are any of us going to be here next year?
Well, the reason I bring it up is we actually saw a moment in which this happened before, when the previous regime, or when the regime that was in place, had ceased to do their job. And that was the end of the Jimbo Fisher era. He'd stopped recruiting. And you'd hear these reports from people that, oh, so-and-so hasn't contacted this player in 6 weeks. Or a player would get contacted by one of the outlets that covers recruiting, and they would ask the player a question about Florida State, because Florida State was in dire straits. So you want to know, does that high-profile player still look at Florida State as a viable option? And so when those calls would go out, people would compare notes. And invariably, everybody on the beat would be like, wait a minute, did you hear that such and such, this player, Justin Fields, hasn't been contacted in 6 weeks? That was an actual example. But yeah, there are players.
Can you imagine?
Well, yeah, it would have been nice, right? But Jimbo had stopped recruiting. He was gone already, and many of his coaches had certainly done the same. So when that happens, that's dereliction of duty. You are in a world of hurt at that point. And you are, at that point, really only planning the moves that are going to, obviously result in massive change and a turnaround in your program, you're not really thinking about the now. I can't imagine being over at practice right now. I can't imagine going to practice every day right now if you're these coaches, knowing that your job is probably certainly gone here at Florida State. And I think in a lot of ways, listen, Mike said, people ask Mike to say a lot of things after games that would make them feel better. I don't know that you're ever going to hear it, but I thought he came pretty close this weekend. Basically, he got into the I've seen the highs and the lows of football and hell life and all that stuff that he said. I know the lessons that come out of this, and I'm paraphrasing him, but he says that he feels bad about what they're putting on display. He said, we've not done a good enough job. They haven't done a good enough job. We're all accountable to this, but this all comes back to me. I have the privilege of being the leader of the program. He's apologized for the product. He's apologized for the results of games. He's apologized for a standard not being met. He alluded to that again over the weekend, that there's just a standard here and it's not being met at all. So he has admitted that he has failed miserably and he's taken the blame. That's all you can do. It doesn't make it go away. It doesn't make things better. It doesn't make you feel better. It doesn't make your recruiting class magically flip into something that you could get excited about. It doesn't do any of those things, but it's accountability. It is acknowledging that I have failed miserably and that I'm not coaching to a standard and that these kids aren't playing in a way that reflects well on them or us, or certainly this program. He talks about continuing to work and push forward. I think he has to say that. He can't say, I'm not going to show up tomorrow. And he did the thing where he caught himself. He said, but apologies don't, it's what it is. I'm sick for everybody that has to watch what we put on display because they deserve better. And so do these kids, to be honest with you. So do the coaches too, for the reasons that they have, the reasons that it showed up. It's just been disappointing. And he gets into gibberish there a little bit. But then he went on to say, I've got to take ownership of it. It's my job to get it fixed. Yeah, that's all accurate. It doesn't change.
It has been.
Yeah, it has for all the while. I said last week at the start of the week that I have my doubts that he can get this turned around, that I think it's snowballed to a place we never imagined it would, and that the program is in a state of disarray. And that even in the modern era of college football, which affords you certain opportunities that weren't there in the past, that it may be too far gone. They're not going to, because the belief is by those that would bank on Mike turning it around. And I'd like to, by the way. The belief would be what? That you are going to identify a bunch of G5 players, because they're not going to be big-time players that are considering your school. So you would identify, 20, 25 G5 players, bring them in here and get this thing moving in the right direction, and all of a sudden you're whatever you are next year, 8-4, 7-5, and you're on your way back to respectability or something like that. Maybe. But it's a different era of the recruiting the portal. Everybody's got NIL. Everybody understands the value of the portal now. Everybody understands their options. If I'm a kid and I've got an offer from Florida State and I've got 5 other offers, I'm going into what looks like a sinking ship, or I'm going to take one of these other offers where I have a chance to succeed and win some games on Saturdays, man. And I can make the same amount of money. I don't know. I don't know that it's.
Yeah, think about if the comp or if the other offers were, say, South Carolina, Oklahoma State,
right,
Washington, and I don't know, pick another school, Auburn.
Any school.
Auburn's in trouble too. But those were the teams you were competing with.
Yeah,
we could win, but I don't know that we.
Yeah,
will
how many of those
battle.
battles are you going to win? What guarantee is it when you're talking about? I'm not trying to besmirch kids that play college football. Anybody who gets an offer to play college football did enough to deserve a tip of the cap, because it's a hard sport and you get looked at to play college. It's part of a very small percentage of people who ever do. So I don't want to besmirch kids, but we're grown-ups here. You're talking about kids that are not going to play at this level to the standard that you need Florida State to play at collectively.
I think the other problem is you would go all out for offensive line. I think the entirety of the fan base would agree with you.
I would do that. I've set that up for weeks.
An offensive lineman that is considering Ohio State or Alabama, you need to be in on that kid, no matter what. The issue is, let's say you win, and I want to win that battle, but let's say you win that battle. The long-term issue that you can't really think about right now is you're resetting, the market within your own program for the future.
Oh, you're doing so much.
We'll worry about that mess when we get there, but that's the thing now where you're going to have to cause more of a mess in the immediate and address the ramifications of that mess down the road in order to feel a little bit better about the mess that you have in front of you right now. And you have to break it more, as crazy as that sounds, at 1-8. You got to break it a little bit more here in the short term in order to hope that something springs out of it next year and then, the following seasons for the long term with Mike at the helm. Like that's the option you've got before you right now. The other one is go find some PE help and, clean house.
That would be probably the only way they could do it.
That's pure speculation, but I just don't know where the money would come from otherwise. I know that you could finance it, but the coaches that are coming in aren't taking deferred payments. You're going to have to pay them today.
Well, yeah, you're going to pay them an annual salary over time, but yes, you are. Yeah. They don't have a magic elixir for this. There's two sides to this. There's the side that if you don't think he's the answer because he can't recruit, he's never recruited well, and he doesn't get it, and that he's damaged goods now, so who's going to come work for him? Like, you can take all of the negative descriptors that we've heard surrounding this program right now, and you can say, well, look, Jeff, can you really afford to bring him back for the next 2 years if you're just going to have to make the change not this year but next or the one after? You might as well just rip the Band-Aid off, finance it out over the next 7-8 years. Yes, you're buried. You're already buried, but you can't continue down this path. You might as well just start anew and hope like hell for the come, which is the success that you would be seeking with the next coach.
Yeah, the thing that I see the most, I read the most from people on the message boards or in the chat is, well, okay, so it's mid-50s next year. Is it any more palatable?
Is it any more
next
palatable
year?
Or $48 million a year after that? Or
the 10 that you save,
right.
For not acting right now, is it worth it to save that $10 million?
Further burying yourself, right?
Right. Yes. What's the cost benefit there? How much are you costing yourself in potential revenues from advertisers and boosters by keeping this going for another year? Now, that's the big stuff. That's where Alford needs to sit down and have a real conversation with his people.
I got to imagine he's a little bit like the warden of Shawshank Prison right about now. That door is going to be knocked upon.
So who left a message for him in the Bible? The sexton?
He opens it up.
Judgment cometh.
I mean, hey, man, potentially your top 2 revenue generators, or what should be, basketball and football. Where are we at with that?
Well, basketball has a chance to tie the football team for the total season wins tonight at 7:00.
Was going to mention that. It starts today.
But, I mean, you can tie the football program in total wins.
You can.
Tonight.
You can. Yeah, it's it's a dark situation, buddy. I was telling somebody earlier today, close to the program, that I don't know that we've ever sat down on these chairs across from one another at any one of the locations we've worked at to do a radio show, this radio show, the Jeff Cameron Show. I don't think we've ever sat down where there were no answers. There were debated points. There were debated perhaps directions or opinions on a player or a coach or what a game meant or didn't mean. There have been discussions that seemed vital to the programs, plural. But we've never been at a place where it's like this, where you really can't lay bare a path for people to feel good.
So I'm laughing on this side of the glass because it's so fitting. I hope everybody's okay. But a fire truck just went by the station and the siren was going. I'm like, yeah. As you're saying, I've never sat down where there are no answers. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's about right.
Well, do you remember I used to always use the analogy of the red panic button, the mashed button, the alarm, the barbarians are at the gate. We probably would have mashed long before now if I'd remembered to do so. But, buddy, we're mashing all the buttons, all of them. We're cutting all the wires.
Yeah, that's you'd be hitting it so much. It's like your boy David Cross, who is in Men in Black.
Yeah.
He says, "Thank you for proving that the bell works."
That's all you'd be doing. I feel like we're all doing that each day that we wake up with this program. Maybe not all aspects of our life. Let's hope not all aspects of our life. But I feel like every day, the second my brain thinks about Florida State football, it goes over and over and over again.
You see the string.
Oh, yeah.
And that it is being played out. Yeah. Even today, again, one of Mike's answers about changes that are coming, it did seem very much like there are two mics. You know, the mic of, you can believe there will be changes. Like he raised his hand coming to the way we do things for next year. Like, okay. Ira asked him the question, well, what do you say to people who they can't see that yet? And they've got tickets for the last 2 games of the season, and they are going to be asked to invest in next year. What do you say to those people? And of course, he can't really answer that, but
well, he can.
He tried.
I mean, you can say that, now the problem is no matter what he says, because he doesn't have a magic elixir, because he can't sprinkle the winning fairy dust on a program and suddenly have them play great and beat Notre Dame on Saturday. Because he can't do that in the moment, anything he says is going to be kind of met with disdain. But
it's a fair question because, we do have 2 home games left. And it's not easy to get here. And a lot of people.
Oh, man. Well, you saw those stands in the second half of that game on Saturday.
Honestly, it was better in the beginning than I thought it was going to be.
Once the students left, and that was pretty.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they left pretty quick.
But the people who had paid tickets or they were giving the tickets away to a good home, it's like, okay, people. That's what makes me continually sad is they're doing the right thing. It's like when the basketball program was falling apart here last couple of years ago. The students arrived on campus here believing that it was going to be like the Trent Forest days. And when they
boy, do I miss those days.
But it's a lag effect. It took about a year for them to realize, no,
not that at all.
But I just watched them sitting in the stands, pack it out. It's 30 minutes before tip off. And that is, it's a hot ticket for the kids because they're free, but they're there in droves. And you go, I'm so sorry.
I got good news.
This really was awesome. When you were in high school, it was great.
I've got good news for all of those kids at the games or in the stands at Doak Campbell. There is beer on sale. And I would suggest partaking before you get into the stadium. I'm flying to Chicago on Friday. I'm hopping on that bus, Tom, in Chicago on Saturday. I'm headed over to that there stadium. I'm making my way into the stands, and I am going to watch that ass-beating play out. I'm going to get back on that bus, drive back to Chicago. It will have been an experience.
When do we play Notre Dame again up there? I just want to know when the losing season, like the one where we go, good God, is going to happen again. Not in the immediate term, but the one that's 4 or 5 years down the road. So the last 2 trips up there, jeez, what do we had? Like 3-4 wins combined?
Oh, at the time that we played that game up there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is it is troubling. I've been there when we've played well. But
were you there for the record-setting game?
37-0?
Yeah. You were up there for that?
No, I was not up there for that game. I was at the golly, I got to go back a ways now.
Well, you do have about 5 different decades to consider.
I'm trying to think. Let me go back and look at all the Florida State Notre Dame games I've been at. I was at the one age when I was a little kid. What year was that?
75.
No. I can look during the break.
You were a little kid in 1975.
I was 4, and I think I was in Europe. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Know your body and transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee, your go-to for science-backed health insights. Their DEXA scan gives you the most accurate body composition available, measuring bone density, muscle mass, and both subcutaneous and visceral fat. Get the data you need to track progress and make real changes. Your VO2 max is the best indicator of health and longevity, but it offers more than just a number. It shows respiratory function, calories burned at different intensities, and whether your body burns fat or carbs, helping you train smarter. DexaFit's RMR test reveals how many calories you burn at rest and the type of fuel your body uses, so you can dial in your diet for weight loss, muscle gain, or maintenance. And their red light therapy soothes sore muscles, reduces inflammation, and rejuvenates your skin. Right now, get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99. That's a $184 value. Call 850-510-7728 or visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body and transform your life this fall with DexaFit.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
Pinch A Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number two, Pinch A Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection, with automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number three, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Power Mill Training Academy equips motivated athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their true potential. Now, you'll read that if you go to their website, but I'm here to tell you that, look, whether it's your daughter wanting to play softball, your son wants to play baseball, or maybe they just want to have fun and get the most out of their abilities, and that's where Power Mill comes into play. They've got coaches and camps that teach for every level of play for your son or your daughter. To learn more, go to PowerMillSports.com. Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
You know, nothing will get me down today, no matter what happens.
Sounds like that's not the case.
No. Football always makes me sad right now because I talk about our program, this program. But it's my oldest son's birthday today. Happy birthday, Bryce Cameron. Love you with all of my being, and he turns 17 today. You remember when he was born, right? Or just after?
I was a listener.
You were a listener, right?
I was a listener when he was born. He was but a toddler when I joined the JCS
That's correct.
family.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember when Clarky was a little pumpkin-headed.
Oh, he was a baby.
He was a Cabbage Patch Kid. He had those big blue eyes.
He still does. But, yeah, absolutely. Today, 17 years old. I don't know how it's happened. He is, by the way, as diehard. He was in attendance at the game on Saturday with my dad. There with his Opa, as he calls him, sitting in the stands, cheering on the Noles.
Is Opa coming down for Charleston?
I don't know that he's decided just yet.
Okay.
But he's going to be at Notre Dame. I'm going to see him at Notre Dame. And by the way, that was 1981-82 season that I was thinking back on. 1913 against Notre Dame. We beat them.
You were there in 1913?
1982. 1913 was the win. But no, man, I'm thinking that I don't know if he'll come or not to that game, the Charleston Southern game. I think there are a lot of Noles deciding whether or not they're going to come to that game. What do you think attendance is going to look like the rest of the way? Sweet Jesus.
I think that's why Ira asked the question. He's like, hey, man, I'm going to give you a chance. If you want to make a pitch, here you go. Here's a target right down the middle, Mike. Can you throw the pitch over the plate here?
No, but there's not really. I mean, I understand the question. It's a fair question. I just don't know what he can say at this point. What are you going to tell him?
We'll have new coaches on the sideline for
they
that game.
Just saw a team. I'm fairly certain that team quit. By the way, that looked like a team that quit to me. I don't really care. I mean, I know Ira pointed out in his column and his piece that it was like a matter of semantics. Okay.
Yeah, like when Omar Graham comes up with a play on a goal line stand.
Yeah, no, I didn't say. That's why I was very careful to say not
correct.
every player quit. I just think collectively it looks like a group that has quit. And you see, because the one who hasn't, like a singular player here or there, cannot make up for all those that have. And so in summation, you've got a group that you're watching go through the motions and not really care to play football. I mean, I saw a lot of non-tackles, not even efforts to tackle.
Yeah, and Mike acknowledged it as much as he could. Yeah. And then Adam Fuller even as well today acknowledges as much as he could without saying the word quit, you know?
Well, it's awful. And
it's not the first time. They were asked this question after Memphis. I think generally speaking, the defense has been along for the ride in a good way. They didn't go along for the ride like it was a free ride. But Miami pissed me off because it's a rivalry game, and that's insane if you're jogging around against Miami. And you saw more of that this past weekend, although I will say I was killing Shaheem for the Miami game effort start to finish. I thought he started this game with some chutzpah.
Started it.
And then
didn't end it.
Right. Yeah. That was more chutzpah than the Miami game.
It is hard to wrap your brain around the kind of trouble they're in. The financial despair that they're in right now because of this and all of the other things that they've had to take on. You know, that the lawsuit.
Or they chose to take.
Well, but we, listen, if you plan on being a serious program that competes at the highest levels in football, which this university long ago committed to, you have no choice but to commit to a lawsuit against the ACC to get out of here. You can't not do that and remain $30 to $40 million annually behind the conferences you seek to compete with. You have to do that. Don't blame them for that. I pretty much think you had to do a lot of the things that you did in terms of the football-only facility and perhaps even the renovations to the stadium.
That third one is, did you have to do that at the same time as the FOF? And I thought that beforehand, this is not now because we're in a mess. It was like, really?
Well,
man.
It's clear that you did not anticipate that your head coach would steer the plane into the side of a mountain.
Right. Yeah.
You did not. I mean, there was no reason for you to believe after he had turned it around. He had done the heavy lifting. The things that are hard to do, which is to take a program that is in dire straits and build it back up in a relatively short period of time to the point where you are clearly in the lead in the state, undefeated, regular season, conference champions. You've done all of that. You could not expect then that they would in turn author this kind of season, which is unequivocally one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of modern college football. You've never seen somebody win 13 games and turn around and maybe win 2 or 1.
We're going to live in a world here very soon where you're going to have 2 wins in the span of 500-plus days, unless they have a massive upset in one of their last 3 games. But, like, the clock is going to continue into 2025, and there's nothing you can do until you get into August/September of 2025. But you'll have carded 2 wins dating back to the first week of December in 2023. From that point to, you're not going to beat Alabama. So you're going to get into September of next year with only 2 wins from beating Louisville to that part of the calendar next year.
Yeah, it's a toughie.
Woo. Buddy. 2.
Do we know specifically who agreed to schedule Alabama and Georgia over the next 4 years?
That was agreed to. I think we were at ESPN at the time. It was agreed to forever ago.
That's something. You got those staring at you. You're staring down the barrel of those matchups. The other part of what you were talking about and what we were talking about is there's the cut it off approach. You know what? You're meeting with the doctor. Hey, we can do this one of 2 ways. There's long-term treatment, or we can, there are risks at either one, with either one. We could cut it off and hope that solves our problem. Or we could treat this over the long haul and hope that, we're able to mitigate the symptoms. And that's kind of like the fan base is having that discussion right now. Like, really? Man, neither seem like a good option. Like you're talking about, so fire Mike Norvell and his entire staff this year, right now, unthinkable before this season. And for good reason.
Are we going to cut this tree back? Let it grow a little bit better? Or do we need to get those stump grinders going? It's time to.
We can replant.
That's right.
We can replant.
Yeah.
It's fertile ground here. We can replant.
I can get you that stump grinder over your property about 10 days. Stump grinders tough to come by this time of year.
And there are plenty of people who think, cut it down. Let's replant. And then there are those who are, hold on. I'm not sure the tree is completely dead. Last year, green leaves, they were everywhere. You saw them and so did I. Know your body, transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee. Right now, get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99. It's normally $184. Call 850-510-7728. You can always visit DexaFit Tallahassee. Go to their website or swing on by over there by Bumpus. Good times. You transform your life this fall with DexaFit. You learn all about the things you need to work on because you get the most reliable and science-backed health insights from a DEXA scan. So, again, that number, 850-510-7728. Go see my friends at DEXAFit.
This is meteorologist Paul Frobley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. High of 84 this afternoon under mainly clear skies, easterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, lows level off around 67. 85 tomorrow. Storms likely Wednesday with a chance for showers Thursday. Highs in the upper 70s. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 80 degrees.
Every journey starts with a first step, a daring step. What they don't say about first steps is that you have to keep going, taking step after step, and eventually you take a big leap, accomplishing more than you ever thought possible. After 57 years, Tallahassee Community College is soaring even higher, and we're now officially Tallahassee State College. We invite you to take a step and visit Tallahassee State College. Learn more at tsc.fl.edu.
Hey, pet parents. With Progressive's collision coverage, you get extra protection for your cat or dog because there's nothing worse than seeing your pet hurt. Like when you see their face after accidentally stepping on their tail, and you say, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Pickles." But as you kiss his nose and rub his little belly welly, you know Mr. Pickles is thinking, "You betrayed me." Anywho, Progressive pays up to $1,000 in vet bills if your pet is injured in an auto accident. Learn more at progressive.com and watch where you step. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Collision coverage subject to policy terms. Not available in all states.
Every day, Cintas service reps help businesses get ready for the workday. They provide freshly laundered workwear delivered every week. Mats, mops, restroom and cleaning supplies. First aid and safety products to help your employees stay safe. They even test and inspect fire extinguishers and emergency lights. Cintas helps keep your business running smoothly. See what Cintas can do for you. Visit Cintas.com. Oh, I'm ready! And get ready for the workday.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And, but
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Tom, the good news is the betting gods have decided to perhaps, we'll see, shine on me for tonight. It's the last leg of a 7-leg parlay, and I'm 6-0.
Whoa. Do you have a cash out option?
I do, but I'm not cashing out because the final leg is the Chiefs to win.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Against our Bucks.
You care to share numbers, or is that too much?
I won't share the numbers, but I will tell you I'll give you what the bet was. Where is it? Live betting. There it is. Sorry. 7 leg. I did the classic. Let's just pick winners for the weekend.
They call this the amputee spider bet.
I took the Bengals, the Bills. Now the Bills almost cost me just like that. They had to make a 61-yard field goal.
Yes, they did.
But they did. Anyhow, Bengals, Bills, Falcons, Ravens, Commanders, Vikings, and then I have the Chiefs. So those would all be yes, 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 yes. And if tonight's a yes, that's a sizable payout. Because, when you bet 7 NFL games, they're betting on you. I don't care if you take all favorites, and I did. They're betting on you to lose one of those. And by rights, I guess I could have lost that Bills game, but I didn't.
So is the cash out option even tempting, or is it one of those get the hell out of here? We're letting it ride.
Well, we're letting it ride. I don't know how a beat up Tampa Bay Buccaneers team goes on the road and beats Kansas City. It's possible. It's the NFL. But I would rather monitor the situation tonight as the game is being played. Those cash out options aren't disappearing. They're not going from whatever that number is right now to nothing just because the Bucks get up 7-0 or something like that. I mean, there'll be time for me to secure a profit if I feel the need to pull the parachute.
Once again, I hope that algorithm or bot that they use for it improves over time, because the DraftKings one is constantly going. It's its own slot machine to watch. It's pretty fun. And the one at Hard Rock, sometimes they don't even give you an option. DraftKings will always give you a cash out option at all times. I'm sure it saves them millions of dollars a year.
I'm sure it does. Collectively, yes, of course. In totality, yes, absolutely it does. They're offering me a nice one. It's close to 65% of what the bet was right now.
Good. In 7 minutes, I'll know, because I'm going to ask if we're going to break.
But it's not. It's not worth me entertaining. I mean, I'm on the right side here. Kansas City should win this game. I'm not like betting on a huge underdog for the seventh leg of a 7th-leg parlay. I've got the most overwhelming favorite of the bunch as the capper. So
either way, you win on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and I would love for the Bucks to win the game. I would. I'll cash out in time to secure a tidy profit, and I'll move on anyhow. And then we'll just say, "Let's go Bucks." That'd be great. Don't think it's going to happen, Tom. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. The other part of what we were talking about with, let's say you're of the mindset that you should just cut your losses and fire Mike as soon as the season ends, whatever you're doing, or let's say you're in that camp. There's a lot of people listening in that camp. Okay, well then I would ask you, who are you hiring? And a lot of them would say Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin ain't leaving Ole Miss to come here. Lane Kiffin is in the SEC, where annually they're making $30 to $40 million more than FSU can make. He is at a place where they're relevant, and that's all that matters to them right now. They're typically irrelevant. If he goes 9-3, 8-4, 10-2 occasionally, he'll be a god at Ole Miss. He's making a ton of money. He's got resources for days. If his agent, Jimmy Sexton, were to evaluate Florida State's situation, I'm not real sure he'd advise him to take that job. This is the problem. Look at how we're framed right now. Now, there are those that believe we have an offer to the Big Ten, and I'm not so sure we don't. But, of course, that's all predicated on whether or not this lawsuit ends or how soon we can get out of it at the next batch of changes, whatever it might be. Well, then it's an attractive place. Then absolutely you open your pool of coaches up greatly because you're in one of the two money leagues.
So maybe you ride it out because you'll have the money at some point here in the near future when you're talking about running a program.
Right.
The near future in a program is 5 years. If you're the head coach, the near future is 1 year. But athletic directors, it's general managers. They have to think differently.
Yeah, and so I was thinking to myself, okay, let's say you're of that, you're cut from the cloth of let's just rip off the Band-Aid and move on. I don't think he can get it turned around. Okay, well, who are you hiring? You know who I think you're hiring? Somebody from the group of five, which is what you just did and what nobody wants to do again.
Yeah, the better play, if you're saying that that's the talent pool that you'd be considering for head coach, I think the better play is to try and build a super staff. And maybe if it still goes bad, one side of the football emerges enough that you have a successor potentially on staff. You always want to cultivate options. Well, like you talk about Mike Norvell, you should always have names in a drawer. I'm sure that those index cards are on the desk, not in the drawer, right? You'd think they're on the desk or on a secretary's desk.
He maybe have a shirt with their names as he's walking around talking to his assistants.
Film. Same thing for the athletic director. You should always have a Rolodex ready to go. And if the agent is telling you, you're too hot for us right now, my man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can't touch it.
I know it's apples to oranges because he wasn't proven at all yet. But the Dabo situation could be instructive. He was on the brink of being fired, and they decided to build a super staff, and that was 15 years ago, and he's still there.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago in a different era of college football.
Agreed.
True.
Understood.
But
in a way, so is the Brian Kelly situation. He reinvents himself, but that's a different era too.
It is. Everything prior to unlimited transfers and NIL is a bygone era that many people right now wish we could go back to without question. I would also argue and push back to some of that because we are in a free-for-all for this playoff. This weekend's events made things very, very interesting. You've got some elimination games coming up in the regular season that are not games we thought we'd be talking about. The Alabama LSU game, loser, go home. Done. You're not getting in.
Maybe.
Not getting in. Not. But again, if you make the move, you have to ask yourself who you're capable of bringing in because you can't go through this again. And we know, and Ira brought this up last week on Headlines, there are no guarantees. We've watched really good coaches fall on their face. And we've seen some guys temporarily save it and look like the next great thing. Look, you know how many people want to hire Cignetti right now? Sure. Doesn't matter to them that Indiana has played a schedule that is an embarrassment to schedules everywhere. It doesn't matter to them that they haven't beaten a single team that's sniffed a top 25 vote right now, right? But he's winning at Indiana, which is commendable. And he deserves a lot of credit. We won't really know about how great Cignetti is for 3 or 4 years. If Indiana sustains excellence, best coach in the country, I mean, how the hell did you do that? Something tells me he won't. It's Indiana. Going to have a hard time sustaining that.
But as his agent, you'd say the getting is good, so take whatever you can.
As his agent, I would try to get him the hell out of Indiana tomorrow. You parlayed this thing into a gold. Good job. Good job. Let's get out of here because you can't win here. You cannot long-term win here. You know that. You're going to keep competing in the Big Ten from this point forward after this great season. You're going to be competing with the likes of Oregon. You're going to be competing with Ohio State. You're going to be competing with Penn State. You're going to be competing with Michigan. You're going to be competing, most of whom, if not all of whom, you do not play this year, which is how you can amass this record. You play Ohio State, who you'll probably lose to, and you'll be 11-1. That will be the only good team you've played.
You could argue if he beats Ohio State, then he must go. Like if they go to the playoff, he shouldn't be coaching. He should Dave Dorn it. He should Dave Dorn it and buy a ticket.
Oh, that's rich. Hour number 2, fourth coming. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Homeowners. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I want to talk to you today about consolidating your debt. Are you struggling with your monthly expenses? Consumer spending and overall debt are reaching all-time highs, while homeowners are sitting on trillions of dollars in untapped equity in their homes. Don't be afraid to walk away from that 2% mortgage while you're paying double-digit interest rates on credit cards and lines of credit and drowning in debt. Let's talk about how we can consolidate your debt, lower your overall monthly payments, and potentially save you thousands of dollars in the process. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. Again, 954-369-6171. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I'm at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing NMLS 373031.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Warning. Amendment 4 overturns Florida's parental consent law. So a minor could...
This is G. Deckerhoff. In 1979, my friend Guy Moore opened his first store. Over 45 years later, Garnet & Gold is still providing the Seminole Nation with unique ways to show their spirit. As the last locally owned FSU merchandise source in Tallahassee, we're proud to be a part of the Florida State experience and this community. If you're a Seminole like me, this is your store. Garnet & Gold. Go Noles.
The same people trying to strip away parents' rights and push gender ideology in schools are trying to overturn parental consent on abortion. Amendment 4 isn't about freedom. It's about taking power from parents and giving it to radical leftists. Be warned, Amendment 4 is way too extreme and not what it seems. Sponsored by Truth About Amendment 4.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. Kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Crescent, Tallahassee. Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee.
It's the opening night of college basketball. The 21st-ranked Florida Gators playing in Jacksonville at Veterans Memorial. They're a 10-point favorite over South Florida. The total 152. Florida State at home with Northern Kentucky as an 8-point favorite, 146.5 the total at Tucker Center. Florida A&M a 27.5-point road dog at TCU. Texas A&M laying 4.5 at UCF, 145 the total at Addition Financial Arena. Jacksonville Jaguars drop a 28-23 decision at Philadelphia, but they do cover as 7.5-point dogs. They open as a 5-point dog at home against the Vikings Sunday. Cashback for every bet with a GBank signature Visa card. VSIN.com/GBank. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Lowe's honors our military community this Veterans Day and every day. To say thank you, verified military members, veterans, and their spouses get 10% off everyday purchases, plus free silver key status with My Lowe's Rewards. It's our way of showing our gratitude to the brave people who have and continue to serve our country. Learn more now at Lowes.com/military. 10% discount can't be combined with another offer. Exclusions, terms, and conditions apply. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, American cheese, cheese sauce, and sausage or bacon. So the first bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the second bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the third bite, you get the idea. The boss of breakfast burritos, gotta be Wendy's.
Participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Tallahassee is full of rich history and traditions. When you think of things that jump out in the minds of longtime residents, the state capitol, McClay Gardens, the Springtime Tallahassee Parade, FSU and FAMU Sports, the St. Mark's Lighthouse, St. George Island, and Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Paul's has been protecting thousands of people, their pets, their homes, and their lawns in the capital region for over 50 years. Locally founded and still locally owned and operated. There aren't many businesses in our industry that keep it together that long. Paul's Pest Control has many customers we've been honored to serve for over the last 50 years. We've experienced tremendous changes in how we treat homes and protect the people that live there. We've moved from liquid termite treatments that require drilling into the home's foundation to Centricon, a baiting system which works with their natural biology. We've moved from interior service to exterior treatments for general pests. But one thing we're not going to change is our old-fashioned commitment to personal service for each of our customers, the same way we've been doing it for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
With bachelor's and law degrees from Florida State University, he's a small business owner in Tallahassee who's worked in courts all over Florida. A trial lawyer who works in Leon County Court every day, a husband and father tied to our community, a pro bono award winner with a commitment to giving back. And if elected with your help and your vote, a Leon County judge. Vote Robert Churchill for Leon County Judge, Seat 4.
Paid for and approved by Robert Churchill for Leon County Judge, Seat 4.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
At the top of this hour, just so you know, The Monday Smash has been moved up to 5 o'clock tonight, 5 p.m., as sponsored by State Farm agent Russ Voorhis, who I saw over the weekend. Great to see you, Russ. Great conversations out there at Hotel Indigo overlooking the intramural fields, discussing what a mess Florida State football is in.
Solid crowd there on Saturday, watching
Very
college
solid
football, enjoying some libations and good food. That was a fun day.
Well, it was great to talk to a lot of people. In fact, it was oddly a great weekend other than the team quitting and losing, going away to North Carolina at home with a 3-quarter empty stadium in the second half. Other than that.
Yeah, that's the way I describe the Dublin trip. Other than the game, fantastic.
Well, at least that game. I mean, hell, that's a overtime game or whatever. That's a fun game.
Final play.
Yeah, final play. I mean, yeah, it's a fun sort of game. But
could have gone overtime if you rally, make a tackle.
Imagine that. Indicative of what was to come, Tom.
Oh, not even.
Oh, right. That was a spirited effort by way of comparison.
I told you that, they might be disappointed, but wait do you see what comes next? The BC game was extremely indicative of what was to come.
Yes, that was it. You're right. That's a more apt descriptor of what was indicative to come, was the BC game, where you were like, oh, no. Good times. And as I said, Russ was there. We got a chance to catch up a little bit. And, of course, he'll be sponsoring tonight's Smash. Ira will be on here at the bottom of the hour. We'll get a chance to get his thoughts on this calamity and where Florida State's at. It is an awful lot of I think for all of us, not just despondency and despair, but this resolve of what do you do next? Because I think that's the thing, Tom. You can easily death spiral. Meaning, you know how we describe things when you end up on your phone or your laptop or your iPad as doom scrolling, which right around this time of year in a certain series of years you can easily do, right? Where you're just going through and whatever side you're on, I guess your websites have figured you out long ago, and they're all like, well, here's some more stuff, and that'll make you nervous. Here, why don't you check out this video?
Are you afraid?
So then they got
some more fear. Come on.
Oh, yeah. So fear and consumption was steady piped out, but you somewhere along the line, you usually catch yourself. You're like, I got to stop doing this. What am I doing? With every one of these that I watch, it's just going to create more of these that I'm going to watch, which is going to create future these that I'm going to watch. That's what they're just finding out more and more about me. Stop it. Throw it away. But like
Putin and P. Diddy? What?
Yeah, but this is how you end up as a fan when a situation is this bad off. Like I've acknowledged long ago that if you are a Florida State rival or you hate Florida State for whatever it is, I mean, Florida State has they're not absent those that loathe this program, just as they're not absent those that hold it on high. This is what the polarizing programs, that is to say, the most successful football programs in all of college football in the last 50 years are to people. That includes Miami. That includes Michigan and Ohio State. That includes Texas and Oklahoma and Alabama and Georgia and all of the schools that you associate with annual runs at the greatest prize in the sport, right? That they're going to be contenders and talked about to varying degrees annually. Well, if you are one of those, you have no shortage of those that hate you and no shortage of those that love you, and you wouldn't have it any other way. Point being that those that are on the other side are really, really enjoying this, just as we would be really, really enjoying any of their failures. And I've had a chance to sit back and watch exactly those things happen, play out the way it did for Miami, the way it has in recent years for Florida. And you go on down the list of those that are who are down right now. Now, that said, I do think that you kind of pull yourself up by the bootstraps and you remove yourself from that spiraling we're talking about. Like, you and I can do it. Fellow Noles have done it with each other a million times over since the games started playing out as they are, which is, oh, no, it's worse than I thought, which is followed by, oh, this season's over, which is followed by, oh, this is a disaster. What are we going to do? How many coaches should he fire? Followed by, would you fire him? Followed by, so that's what we've all done week to week to week to week. And it's been a step along the way. Well, I don't know. And now I'm starting to wonder this. And that's how that goes. At some point you say, well, okay, here's the deal. What you can't do is nothing. What you can't do is you can't be a victim of paralysis by analysis. Like, you have to start to take steps now. Those in a position of authority have to begin to take steps to remedy what may feel like an unfixable problem. But nothing's unfixable. They can fix it. They can fix it. Now it's a question of how quickly and how much money it's going to take and what are you willing to do? How many laws are you willing to break? For me, all of them. All of them. But that said, I do wonder what those conversations are like right about now, because everybody has disparate interests within this situation. There are some people who may not see themselves here 4 years from now. What do they care? Some people who know that their jobs are directly connected with this getting turned around. They have a vested interest by the minute that things begin to, turn around. Those that are not so sure they will be employed here after this Saturday, they've got a different set of interests as well, as in talking to other programs that might be interested in their services. There are so many different ways to view this disaster. We're on the outside as fans and boosters. We're connected, obviously, whether that's through our time at school or our financial contributions or just even our passion. But we're not in a position, you and I, and the 99.9% of the people listening to this, to exact change, to do something that will shape the course of where it is Florida State goes next.
We could really use an MLK graphic that says do something right now, to fire up the masses.
I don't know that we need another one of those graphics, but I do think
with the Nike Vapors.
Yes. But I well, and it's funny because even within the realm of I'd like to see them make an announcement of some sort, you do realize that, you don't want that to be showy. It needs to have a purpose. As we said last week, it doesn't need to be performative.
Yeah, a press release will do, right? I would think.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a presser. I don't know. Do you think the athletic director would call a presser for coordinator and or assistant coach removals and replacements? I don't think that rises to the level of press conference worthy.
No, I don't know that press conferences need to happen anytime soon. Beyond if, you're announcing the hiring of somebody else. No. Mike's got a challenge this week, though. I mean, he's got a challenge ahead of him, period. A huge one. But you are really up against it this week, going to Notre Dame, that has found their way since the Northern Illinois loss, can clearly see the playoff light at the end of the tunnel. They're in right now. If they keep winning, they're in. Southern Cal is down. They've got a chance to beat their ass at the end of the year. They're going to.
It's the Army game, as long as Army has its quarterback.
Would have been nice to know, by the way. And that situation is exactly what I'm talking about in all seriousness. Stop the nonsense. Army, good for them, as one would hope they were capable of, successfully hid the fact that their starting quarterback, who happens to be one of the better players in the country and responsible for a ton of touchdowns, was not going to play in the game. Nobody knew it. Nobody knew it till they kicked it off, and then the announcers told us, and you went, well, I don't think I would have laid the 21.5 had I known that the guy who's responsible for this season isn't playing. Mandatory injury reports, Tom.
Are you questioning our military?
No, I'm saying bravo. They kept the secret all week.
Just checking. I'm watching you.
I'm saying bravo, man. So there it is. Like, you're in trouble. Notre Dame's going to beat Florida State by whatever their score, whatever they want to announce it. I mean, whatever they decide. And it's in their best interest to just go ahead and beat the Jesus out of us. Now, you could push back on that a little bit and say, I don't know, what does beating Florida State get you? Not much. You're right. It's prime time. Because all of our ass kickings have to be on prime time. But And they are dedicated to run the ball, so maybe they'll shorten the misery. We had very little interest in coming up and making tackles against the ACC's best running back this weekend.
Well, what they'll do, if it follows the form that we've seen, is they'll keep it vanilla. They'll take command of the game. They will assert themselves. It's going to be ugly. And then they'll take pity for the last 2 quarters because this will all be done by halftime.
Yeah, North Carolina did.
Yeah, Mac Brown's like, oh, unbelievable. Let's put the backups in.
Well, I mean, I think it was pretty obvious early third quarter when you had nothing to start the second half that you weren't interested in being there.
Yeah, it was the 4-play drive.
Yeah.
It was, 18. Well, they convert the third down, and it's like 18, 16, touchdown. That's the one. You go, whoo.
The little shovel pass there was something to behold, wasn't it? Watching everybody kind of scatter to the wind, fleeing the ship. Nobody wanted to come up and make that tackle. You'd literally see a guy on your screen, then he's out of your screen. He's not moving towards the ball. It's that fake sort of, I'm trying to get you. It's like you do with little kids. Like when my 3-year-old son would run from me and I'm going to get you. I'd just run alongside him. I'm almost going to get you. And he'd be laughing, trying to turn the corner. I'm going to get you. I'd just brush his shoulder. And he'd scream and keep running. I was never going to tackle him. Of course not. I was going to let him feel like he was getting away, and it was so close. That was North Carolina every time they ran the ball this weekend. Our players, I'm going to get you. I'm coming up to get you. 45 yards later, I'm coming to get you. Oh, you scored again. Which really didn't make any sense because then they got down to the 1 and everybody tried real hard. What? There's no figure in that, right? It's hard in the red zone, man. People get knocked the hell out. It's tough in the red zone. Everything's condensed and nasty. You're going to effort there, but you're not in the middle of the field. It was silly. I half expected Mike to walk off the sideline midway through the third quarter and offer to shake hands. Tell Mac, good one. You finally got the win against your university. As an alumnus, I'm happy for you. There you go. We're going to go ahead and call it a day. You good? Tack on 20 more. Whatever you want. Just let's get out of here. Save your players. You got more interesting things to play for. You're trying to get bowl eligible. We're going to go over here.
Let us know what the score is. We'll have the PA announcer report it because the video board doesn't work. So we'll have it on the loudspeaker.
So, yeah, there were a lot of moments where they were just kind of guys just running alongside.
They're trying to arrive at a place rather than kick the door down. That's what I saw against Miami. They started out with the right intentions, I thought, but
First quarter.
It's a 60-minute game, though.
Unfortunately. You know, the thing is, though, you wonder, and I wait for it. I'm assuming it's maybe going to happen. I don't know, but this usually leads to the kind of infighting where reports get out. Because I think if you're a player who does care, and you turn and witness a player who does not, we're going to have some problems. I mean, there's going to be a moment where and that happens everywhere. That's
like
normal.
Juice gives a damn, and he's in an air cast. Yeah. You want to feel disgusted about something? That kid cares, and it came calling for him that he can't play. I mean, now Mike is being, I don't understand it with the injury thing. Like, what? It's going to make a difference for Florida, whether he plays or not. He's in an air cast. Just say he's out for the year. If he's out for the year,
well, it looked pretty ugly.
He said it's not as bad as we thought, so we will take a week to week. God. But the point is that there's somebody who clearly, he did an interview preseason on this show, the way he carries himself on the field.
Yeah, Cryer cares. He's very competitive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you look him in the eye when everybody goes to the cart as he's coming off the field or they see him in the locker room? How do you look that guy in the eye and say, hey, man, I hope you feel better if you didn't lay it out there like he did? It's not an easy thing to do.
You would have to have a conscience, though. You'd have to, again, this is the deal. I don't know if you could be in that spot if you really did care passionately every week. Because we've said this before, that the roster's not great, but it's not this. It's not 1-8. It's not that kind of a roster.
No.
No.
Not even close.
Right. So this has been going on for weeks, to a greater extent now than before. Healthy happy hour might be on a Monday. Healthy happy hour could be on a Tuesday. If you root for Florida State, it could be on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Maybe you take Sunday off, recalibrate, and start over on Monday. America's first USDA organic THC edible. That's right. They jumped on board the Jeff Cameron, said, we like the cut of your jib. We want to be a part of your show. We want others to know about it. Go to cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Use promo code warchant at checkout. cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Use warchant for 30% off your first order. And little gummies, a little healthy happy hour, as I said before. And just the right amount. You're all good. cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Save 30%. Cherry Forest Parkway is your place for all things related to football season. Need steaks? Social Kitchen. Need chef-prepared sides and appetizers? Social Kitchen. Need desserts for a party? Social Kitchen. Anything you need this fall, Social Kitchen has you covered. Tallahassee's only premier market where you can receive the famed Snake River Farm steaks and premier meats. Social Kitchen also has chef-prepared meals and sides that are ready to serve in under 20 minutes. Stop in or visit online at socialkitchentlh.com.
Wooden Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Wooden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Wooden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at woodenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
Guided by service and strengthened by faith, LaShawn Riggins is a proven servant leader, a veteran, youth advocate, and an attorney for over 17 years. Service has always been the cornerstone of LaShawn's career. Committed to justice, safety, and our community, LaShawn Riggins aims to work toward a safer and more just society in Leon County. Vote LaShawn Riggins for Leon County Judge.
Paid by LaShawn Riggins, nonpartisan for Leon County Judge, C4.
Know your body and transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee, your go-to for science-backed health insights. Their DEXA scan gives you the most accurate body composition available, measuring bone density, muscle mass, and both subcutaneous and visceral fat. Get the data you need to track progress and make real changes. Your VO2 max is the best indicator of health and longevity, but it offers more than just a number. It shows respiratory function, calories burned at different intensities, and whether your body burns fat or carbs, helping you train smarter. DexaFit's RMR test reveals how many calories you burn at rest and the type of fuel your body uses, so you can dial in your diet for weight loss, muscle gain, or maintenance. And their red light therapy soothes sore muscles, reduces inflammation, and rejuvenates your skin. Right now, get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99. That's a $184 value. Call 850-510-7728 or visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body and transform your life this fall with DexaFit.
Pinch A Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number two, Pinch A Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection, with automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number three, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Science-backed, technology tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day, take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I wish there were an easier roadmap to be able to come on and say, well, here's what you're going to do. Meaning, the fans. Like, here's what you're going to do. Here's what we're all going to do, everybody. We're going to do this, and you'll feel better on Saturday. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. There is no path towards getting this all worked out right away. Not right away, anyhow. Uh-oh, I missed it. Let's jump over and get to. Wright, appreciate you. Speaking of parlays, you like FSU's men's basketball tonight, minus 7.5. I mean, if they can't cover this game, can they ever cover again? Well, Wright, I hope you're right. I'll tell you that right now. For those that don't know, Florida State, who last year finished 17-16, 10-10 in the ACC. Better than you thought. Better than you remembered, by the way. That's not good, but better than you remembered. When I said it out loud this morning, I went, I bet people don't realize they were 500 in the ACC last year and that they finished a game over 500 overall.
Well, we were very close to 0 in the ACC this year. Our conference schedule is, our conference schedule is done.
That's correct. Thank goodness for Cal.
We did beat Cal.
Tonight, the Noles taking on Northern Kentucky. Last year, Northern Kentucky, 18-15, 12-8 in the Horizon. 7 o'clock at the TLC Double C. You can get that game ESPN Plus streaming only, I believe, if you're not headed over to the TLC Double C. This is Leonard Hamilton's 23rd season, by the way. Did you know that? He is the oldest coach in Division I men's basketball. Just thought I'd let you know. 76 is Leonard Hamilton, looking 40. 76 looking 40. Tom writes, Gruden as OC. That'll give enough time for the heat to die down with him. Then we promote him to head coach as soon as we're in the Big Ten. I know it won't happen. We're going to be smoking crack in the gutter until 2030. Sigh. That's a play on my old analogies where I used to say that we were face down in the muck, laying down behind the dumpster. Our drinking habit hadn't gotten away from us. The other ACC teams were exiting and looking over and saying, if you didn't notice, guys, Florida State's laying over there face down in the muck, drunk. We should kick them for all the times they kicked our ass. You're free to do so, Wake Forest. And they would get a running start and kick us. Free to do so. And I would always do this. And the only team that didn't get a chance to kick them was Duke. Because they hadn't earned the right.
But now they got a big one in.
Mac Brown got a running start. Oh, get you some of that, guys.
I got you. I'm not going to hold back. Here I come. Here I come. I'm going to get there. About 3 steps away.
I'm getting there any second now.
Oh, no, my hammy.
Roof One says 100% commit to Luke. Spend portal money for an OL to protect and run the ball. And Luke, time to develop. Only junior, senior for transfer portal players. Signetti plan. New coaches, DC, OL, linebacker, wide receiver, DL. Yeah, basically the staff. I think most would agree with you.
Basically the staff.
Basically the staff. New coaches. Just write all of them. The problem is, and I'm big on this, spend more portal money on the offensive line part of it, and I mean, tons of money on the offensive line, and then get after portal players. Yeah, but I think this is going to be a little bit more difficult than people realize. Woo! See, I was having fun for a moment talking basketball. 23rd season for Leonard Hamilton. 23rd. I interviewed him the day he was hired here. At the old 1270, buddy.
There was a big moment. Was it us in baseball There's like a big replay in history where you see Leonard Hamilton hired by Florida State on the bottom line of ESPN2. I don't know if it's a hockey memory of mine or if it's us playing in the CWS. I forget what it was.
And I remember that day being very excited to talk to him because in the interim between coaching gigs, he was actually doing media. And he had been an analyst. And he was fun and jovial and interesting. And we had a great talk that day. And at the end of it, in his fashion, Leonard commended me. He said, "You're good at this. I've had some time now behind a mic, and I see that it's more difficult than I thought." And he made me laugh. He was funny. It was good. It was sweet.
He knew he had to play it up.
Oh, that's all right, Tom. Let me live in the moment. I enjoyed it.
He knew he was going to be talking to you a lot over the next 23 years.
Yeah, I didn't realize it would be that long, but that's true. My cohort is on the line. That is a good thing. He is Ira Schoffel, Warchant.com, and he joins us now on the Jeff Cameron Show. Hello, Ira. How are you, brother?
I am fantastic, Jeff. How are you?
I am fantastic, too. Are you excited to head over to the TLC right after doing an early smash tonight at 5, right?
I am. I didn't get to see either of the exhibitions, so I'm excited to see 9 new faces.
9 new, yeah.
One returning face being Jameer Watkins. Very happy about that. So, yeah, man, we'll see what it looks like over there.
I'm hoping, and maybe it's hoping against hope, but I am hoping certainly they give Florida State fans everywhere something, a measure of something to latch onto, buddy, because suffice to say, you and I have never seen anything like this and never covered really anything like this, meaning from where it was just a year ago to where it is now. And it doesn't feel like each week it could get worse, and then it does. And now you and I are headed to Chicago, buddy, so that ought to be great.
It is. I'm going to enjoy Chicago, Jeff.
I'm going to enjoy Chicago, and I'll spend some time with you in Chicago, and we'll all enjoy it together. But
sure.
But that said, I don't think we're going to enjoy watching the proceedings there at the stadium once they kick it off. It'll probably look an awful lot like what we just saw, which is perhaps some spirit the first 5 minutes of the game, followed by a team that's basically running the ball up the middle, feeling sorry for us. And I guess I would just ask you anything about what you've asked Mike Norvell or what he has said in the last 48 hours after Saturday that stood out to you, that has you thinking anything about what it is we're watching and what you think will happen in the not so near future.
Not really, man. I think I mentioned this last week. It might have been when we were doing headlines. You and Corey were having your debate, and I was just sitting there watching. Like, all I care about now is getting to the end of the year. To me, usually you count down the days to a season. I want to start a countdown till the season's over, and they can, we'll see what the changes look like. Because there was a point in this season early on when you thought, okay, well, let's see what, maybe some of these guys will start to figure it out. You'll show some improvement and, piece together something this season. And at the end of the year, maybe you could compete with Miami and Notre Dame in Florida. Or then when you started going to the youth movement, it's like, okay, well, maybe these guys will bring some energy to this team. And now you've seen those for the last few weeks, especially on offense. And it's honestly, I just want to see where it's going to go going forward. I know the games have to be played. People bought tickets. They're going to watch the games. They don't want to see their team get its head beat in. But for me, from my standpoint, I just want to get to what it's going to look like going forward.
Yeah, and you asked the question of Mike about the fans coming to games because, believe it or not, for everybody out there are 2 more home games. And I do wonder what that's going to look like. I fear for what we're going to see for Florida State and Charleston Southern, and obviously even – strangely, Ira, I'm not real sure we're going to see a lot of people for Florida State, Florida.
It's a great question. Now ostensibly, all or most of those tickets have already been sold, so the revenue came in on the front end from that standpoint, so the school doesn't get killed by that. But obviously, from an aesthetic standpoint and just a respect standpoint, it looks terrible. What that stadium looked like in the second half of that game Saturday, where there's nobody in the stands, the team's not really competing. The other team's doing whatever they want, and that other team is not any great team. It's a 4-4 North Carolina team that had 1 win in the conference. It's about as low as it can get. So yeah, from an aesthetic standpoint, it could look worse. And I wouldn't blame people for not wanting to come to the games. Really, there's not a lot redeeming. I mean, other than seeing some of these young players, but even that's hard to watch because they can't function well enough for those guys to even make any plays. So it's as bad as it can get.
should Mike eschew doing some of the things that he does now when we see these post-game press conferences and his weekly meetings with the media? I don't know what he can say anymore. I began the show by at least pointing out that, hey, look, Mike has owned this. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to take it easy on Mike. I mean, this is at a different time and a different era of college football. I would say this is a very fireable offense, what's happened with Mike this year. But you know, he talked about this not being good enough, and talked about that it's his fault, and he's apologized, and he's said that, look, the fans deserve better. What they've put on display is unacceptable, that there's a standard that's not being met. I just don't know what there is to gain anymore by addressing the press much more than you have to. And I'm never for people dodging responsibility or avoiding the press. I'm certainly not going to say that, but it just doesn't feel like he can say anything right now that's going to do him any good.
Well, yeah, a friend of mine texted a group chat one of his quotes from today and said, you know, I appreciate his candor, but it's probably not it doesn't make me feel good about this program. And it was basically Mike Norvell saying something along the lines of, you know, if I knew all the things that were going to happen, maybe I would have done things differently. And, you know, as a head coach and somebody made $10 million a year, you could throw that back at them and say, hey, that's your job. Your job is to figure that out. But my response was, and is, you know, he's walking through a minefield every press conference he does, because, you know, he's never going to want to throw players under the bus because he doesn't believe that's the right thing to do. And he wants to salvage what he can out of this roster. You know, they're not going to flip the entire roster. So he's trying to keep some of these guys. So he's not going to roll players. He can't fire his coaching staff right now. He believes. I think it'll happen soon, but we'll see. You know, at least several of them. But he's chosen not to do it to this point, so he can't really talk about that. You know, there's just a lot, and I don't think it serves anybody for him to admit, yeah, these are the mistakes I made. I shouldn't have hired these people. I shouldn't have brought in these players. Like, I don't think that solves anything. So there's really not a lot of good things he can say, to your point. But I think, you know, for a lot of it, he is handling it about as well as he can. I think he is being forthright about, you know, he's not like digging in his heels. And I think that's one thing, you know, that I think is causing fans a lot of frustration right now, is they want to see some change. They want to see something. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
How do I believe you that you're going to do something? And the reason why people are so worried about that is because, you know, look, Bobby Bowden didn't want to fire coaches. Jimbo Fisher didn't want to fire coaches. A lot of head coaches don't want to fire their staff. I would tell you that I believe Mike Norvell is going to make major changes. I don't think he's going to dig in his heels and say, no, I'm going to go down with this staff of assistant coaches. I think he's going to make changes because he has to. So I'm not as upset about it, because I believe he is going to make those changes, but I understand why fans are concerned or upset, because they don't believe him. They want to see it.
It's got to be horrifying. I mean, it's got to be a situation where one day, and who knows if he'll ever get this turned around. We both admit we're not sure he can. Maybe he can, but if I were a betting man, I'd say I don't think he gets it turned around. That said, it would be a great book someday if he did. Can you imagine, like, to be able to look back, say you turn this back around again, and to be able to go back and be honest many, many years from now and say, when was the moment you realized that this was a blank show and that this was going to be the most disastrous season in your coaching career, and that people were going to despise you who just a year ago loved you? Because that's what's happened. I mean, people are done with Mike Norvell. And that started like 10% of the fan base, then 15% of the fan base. Man, his most ardent supporters are reaching out to us on a daily basis now saying, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. It's something to behold. I never thought we'd see it.
But in some regard, you know, it may be better that it's happened this way, from the standpoint of he has to face every reality that is out there. You know, like if you're 7-5, you're 5-7. I think where a lot of coaches get into trouble is that they talk themselves into thinking things aren't as bad as they really are. And the fact that you are 1-8, the fact that you're staring at 2-10 on the season, maybe a 1-11, maybe 3-9, whatever it is, there's nothing he could walk away from this season and say, okay, I don't have to evaluate this. I know this is good. None of it's good. everything has been a disaster, from evaluations to recruiting to the portal to the coaching to the game planning to the preparation to everything has been a disaster. So from that standpoint, he gets this one chance. He gets one shot to reset everything, and that's why I think he has to make major wholesale changes. You know, if you keep a few coaches, you keep a few coaches, but for the most part, it's got to be massive overhaul, and he has to confront that. Whereas if you're 500, maybe you don't do that, and it becomes a slow death over 2 or 3 years. I think he has to face reality that he's got to make major changes, and I think he will. He's too much of a competitor to watch this and think, oh, I can make some tweak this here and there. I mean, he's got to know it's a major overhaul.
You can hear from Ira yet again in just a couple of hours on the Smash. It's been moved up tonight to 5 o'clock because basketball tips at 7. Brother, always appreciate it. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
Yeah, take care. That's Ira Schoffel, warchant.com. He'll be, as I said, hosting the Smash with Tommy over here at 5 o'clock. And then at 7, he'll be over there to watch the basketball team in their first tip of the year, Florida State, Northern Kentucky. I think a lot of people, if you're digesting Florida State sports, want to watch anything but Florida State football right now. So who knows? Maybe somebody will say, let's cleanse the palate. Here's the thing. This would be kind of important. Not important as in if you go win tonight in your first game of the new season, that means great things are going to happen. The problem has been lately, over the last 2 seasons, you've lost to teams like Northern Kentucky. Not Northern Kentucky specifically, but Lipscomb and Siena and Stetson and Troy.
Hey, man, come on.
You want me to keep going?
What are you doing?
I'm just letting you know. You've lost to those teams.
Hey, we went 10-10 in the ACC.
Yeah.
So pipe down.
Just setting you know, over the last couple of years, those are the kinds of teams you've lost to early in the season in the non-conference. And we've all went, ooh, that's not good. We're losing to these teams in the non-conference. These are supposed to be wins. These are supposed to be wins. This is the first ever matchup, first ever meeting between these two teams. You can't start off a new rivalry at 0-1. Get you some Northern Kentucky. Just so you know, nobody just rolls on into the TLC CC and expects to walk out with a victory. Shannon Young, loansforknowles.com, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. He's the best in the business, hardest working in the business, bright, hardworking, fellow Knoll, cares about the success that you achieve through his expertise. That's right. Make sure you reach out today. Shannon Young, loansforknowles.com. That's loansforknowles.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Frobley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. High of 84 this afternoon under mainly clear skies, easterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, lows level off around 67. 85 tomorrow. Storms likely Wednesday with a chance for showers Thursday. Highs in the upper 70s. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 81 degrees.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping. Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps. Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors, and we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless. Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Investors, are you looking for a creative way to purchase your next rental property? Are you looking to get into the Airbnb space? If so, you need to know about DSCR loans. It stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. These are loans that do not require traditional income verification. As long as the proposed rent covers the mortgage payment on the subject property, that's the only income you need. If you're looking at investing and don't know if you can qualify, let's set up a plan to get your next income producing property and start putting you on a path to passive income. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. And don't forget, every fellow Knoll that we close a loan for, I will personally make a donation of $250 to the Battle's End. It's Shannon Young at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing limit. NMLS number 373033.
There he is. Cubans. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean,
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Yeah, the pool of coaches, and I see people debate this in the chat all the time when we start talking about if you did move on, and I don't think they're going to this year. I think Mike gets another chance next year. You can debate whether or not you think that's a good idea. I certainly get those who think it's time to move on. I also understand those who say that's not reasonable and we shouldn't. Okay, that's fine. But the point is that when you're having that discussion, again, understand that if you're talking about a head coach of an SEC school or a head coach of a Big Ten school, they're not coming to the ACC. They can be offered more money at middling schools in the SEC or the Big Ten than they can here. And long-term, their future is better off, even though they might say, I can't win a championship here. We're not of that caliber within this power league. Fine, but you don't want to do without when it comes to NIL and recruiting, and those schools are going to be making 30 to 40 million more annually than any team in the ACC. And this is why Florida State is suing to get out of this godforsaken conference. It's not even ground by which to compete, and they know it. So you are hamstrung in a lot of ways as to who you could bring in. There is no great name that you're bringing in if one of those names you're talking about is of the Big Ten or the SEC. Now, I mean, could you bring in, if you wanted to, after one good year at Indiana, try to hire Signetti? I suppose, but I'm not listen, Signetti's done a great job. He deserves the credit. I'm not disparaging Signetti. We don't know how long-term he's going to do. He brought in a ton of his guys at James Madison. There was instant buy-in because they played for him last year. That's awesome. They played the weakest schedule in the entire Big Ten, and he's winning a lot of games, and it's fun to watch and good for them, and maybe he sustains it, maybe he doesn't. I'm not willing to say that he will long-term. We see this a lot. Coaches have successful campaigns early on. New car smell, schedule works out just right. Okay, got it. But I don't even think you would it's not even really a consideration. I think, interestingly enough, Tom, we were talking in hour one about the process and, what are you going to be able to accomplish? Because this recruiting class is going to be dreadful. Dreadful. What are you going to be able to accomplish realistically next year and the year after and the year after if you go down the path of we're just staying true to the head coach, we're making him change his staff, and we're going to give him the necessary means to do so, but we're sticking with him. So what are we going to do? How do you go about it? Well, the odd part of that is you're saying you got to go all in on the portal again. I don't know. I don't know that you can get the same sort of quality players that you once did from the portal when we were ahead of the game. And this kind of got you. I mean, it's kind of got you in this spot now, and that whole process has changed.
Yeah, I'd say so. In the 10 days after the Florida game, you're going to have signing day for what it is. Maybe if you can poach an assistant out of a power conference that's not going to the playoff, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know that a position coach or a coordinator that is on a playoff team is going to abandon a playoff run to come to Florida State and fix a mess. So those 12 teams are probably out. But if they're not part of that 12-team pool, maybe you can get a person in here who has already agreed quietly to that deal, and maybe they've got a player or two in this 2025 cycle that they're attached to. that you can get out of the high school ranks, and they will follow the coach because of the relationship. The NIL will be there waiting for them. And they say yes. And so you get a little bit of a boon on signing day. It doesn't mean it moves you into the top of anything. It just means you're like, oh, wow, we got a 4-star defensive end because he was with that other coach. That's one thing. The other thing is what you're talking about with the portal. In December, we're going to know how many of our young kids that are expensive don't want to be here anymore. So unlike the NFL, this is the one good thing about it not being like the NFL. You don't have salary cap penalties for kids who decide to leave prematurely. In the NFL, if a contract ends prematurely, there's a cap penalty that carries over against your number. No, man, that's just your money that you can use now for the 2025 season. So by Christmas time, you're going to know what your budget is, and you're going to get more of your budget back that you currently think you're going to spend in 2025 because young kids are going to say, peace, I'm out. At that point, I think you have to go into the portal and use every dollar you can for talent acquisition for next year. If Mike is the head coach, there is no ramp up. Like, you need to get as aggressive as you possibly can for 2025 in order to flip the narrative in a lot of ways. National narrative, recruiting narrative with your own boosters, with sponsors, with season ticket holders, all that kind of stuff. You have to be aggressive for next year and not even think about the long term as much as you think about 2025.
Yeah, but being aggressive in the next year doesn't mean what I think people think it does. I don't think you're going to get yeses from superstar players that are going to change your fortune from 2-10 to 10-2. I don't think you're going to get any of those players. They're going to say, no, I'll take less money for people I have relationships with who did recruit me a long time ago and are in a much more sustainable situation than you're in. They're going to say, no, thanks, I appreciate the $300,000. I'm going to take the $175 and go play here where I'm going to win 10 games and ultimately have a chance to, week to week thrive.
You're probably right, but I'm still going to offer him the $300,000 and make them say no. I mean, what other choice do you have? You want to say, well, we're never going to get that guy, so let's not even waste our time, and let's see what Marshall's got for us. They got a good guard that we could use. No, I mean, you got to swing for the downs at certain position groups.
At certain positions. Offensive line is the biggest one. I'd way overpay for a left tackle, a left guard, a center, right guard, right tackle. Way overpay. But again, this is not the portal that we exploited to our advantage and that Mike did such a good job with, and we continually give him credit, rightfully so, for that. This is not that portal. This portal now is accessed by everybody everywhere. And they now all see the virtues of said transfer portal, everybody except for Dabo, and he's doing all right, although their loss this weekend is devastating to the ACC. Mm-hmm. Clemson ain't going anywhere now.
Well, they're calling for his head up there.
Well,
it's lovely.
We have too much. Why
are we running the slowest offense in America down 3 scores? Why are we kicking an extra point to get to 12? It's awesome.
But the point is, you are not attacking the portal in a way that you did, in which you were able to hit home run after home run after home run, because now everybody's in it and they get it. And so I think you're at a place where the caliber of player you're going to be able to compete and win, meaning win the battle of NIL and with the other schools that are trying to get their services, is going to be seriously diminished from the likes of what you had with 10 NFL players the last few years. Like, you're not getting Jermaine Johnson if it's today.
Agreed. So, but I mean, then what do you suggest? We just get a bunch of G5 guys, do nothing, and then fire Mike next year?
It's not. I mean, it's not do nothing. I do think you're going to have to do what you should have been doing all along, which is a much better job of evaluating players, both in the high school ranks and even in the portal now. This last swing and miss from these kids, this is awful. Many of them can't play.
Every dollar that you can spare for talent acquisition needs to go to talent acquisition. I'd even argue over some coaching changes. Now, I hope they make sweeping coaching changes, because clearly these guys aren't respected. If you're going to give an effort like that on Saturday, and that's not the first of its kind, then there's respect that's not being paid.
Which is why I'm worried about the head coach.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm worried about the head coach, which is why I've entertained for the first time really all year, these last couple weeks, I've begun to think that, perhaps it's not crazy to say you have to cut ties with him, no matter what that's costing you long term. You may have to. And I hate that, because I like Mike, and I do think he's a good coach. I think he's failed miserably this season, obviously. I think he's made some ungodly mistakes in assessing what he thought he had, and also not recognizing what he was losing. again, we talked about this last week. I think he lost more than NFL talent last year. He lost the leaders of the team to boot. They were the most talented and hardest working. And I think he trusted that the group behind that group would follow suit. And those guys did not follow suit. They did not work as hard. And he basically revealed that to us with the comments that you highlighted last week, which was that when Mike began to question what they were doing when they weren't at practice in terms of commitment to each other and to the process of bettering themselves and this program above and beyond what was being asked, bare minimum asked at practice.
Yeah, what are you willing to do, on your own time? It's just when I hear the resistance in your voice to the idea of, well, we're not going to get those, like that defeatist, and I don't mean that in a bad way, just like legitimately, you're like, well, it doesn't make a difference. Then that has to be where you stand on the issue, is that it might be time to make the wholesale change from the top down. Because for me, it's, I think you bring in as many power coaches as you can, power conference coaches as you can, to help with the prestige, if you will, the legitimacy.
Oh, yeah. If you could get assistants, that they would have to be given assurances that you're not firing him anytime soon. They're not leaving those jobs.
Right.
If they think Mike's going to get fired in a year or two.
Yeah.
So when you commit to Mike right now and you don't fire him, you're committing to him for the next 3 years.
Well,
because that's the only way you're going to hire those assistants.
Yeah, you can say that out loud and not believe it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, those assistants and their agent, which is Jimmy Sexton, are going to want to know that their job is safe and that they're not all going to get run out as soon as you run the head coach out, which if is in a year or two is not a stable situation that they can commit to. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Hour number 3, forthcoming. Stay with.
We conquer all peaks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com.
Like this number, CCC 133-1204.
Northeast Tallahassee, we've been hurting in different ways. I'm Dr. Isaac Montilla, and I'm one of you. I know your struggles, and it's time for We Not Me, which is a community-first approach. Tallahassee's plagued by backdoor politics. It's time to end inside deals and embrace common sense conservative values. We must move forward together and rise above this. I'm Dr. Isaac Montilla, a business owner and a family man, asking for your vote. Together, we'll build a better future.
Political advertisement paid for and approved by Isaac Montilla for Leon County Commission District 4.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
WBFT Gretna, Tallahassee. This is Real Talk 93.3. More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3 brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
The college basketball season gets underway tonight. The Florida State Seminoles home in Tallahassee. They'll open up the year against Northern Kentucky. Florida will play South Florida tonight, neutral court in Jacksonville. The Gators opening up the season ranked 21st in the AP preseason poll. Monday Night Football tonight, Tampa Bay at Arrowhead Stadium. They'll take on Kansas City. The Bucs have dropped 3 of their last 4. They're 4-4 on the year. The Chiefs, the only unbeaten team in the league at 7-0. They've won 14 straight Monday night games. Jacksonville Sunday, they fell in Philadelphia 28-23. They trailed 22-0 in the third quarter before trying to rally. Trevor Lawrence with 2 touchdown runs and also 2 interceptions. And in NASCAR, Ryan Blaney won the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville. This sports update brought to you by Flowmar's Pawn, Guns, and Gold. More than you might expect. I'm Tony Desiri, Real Talk 93.3.
Lowe's knows that to win the job, pros need the best prices. That's why only at Lowe's, MVP's Pro Rewards members can get a volume discount on eligible orders as low as $1,500 at the Pro Desk. That means you get the prices you need to start any job, small or large, because Lowe's knows pros. Valid in-store only. More terms and restrictions apply. Visit Lowe's.com/terms or Pro Desk for details.
Warning.
This is G. Deckerhoff. In 1979, my friend Guy Moore opened his first store. Over 45 years later, Garnet and Gold is still providing the Seminole Nation with unique ways to show their spirit. As the last locally owned FSU merchandise source in Tallahassee, we're proud to be a part of the Florida State experience and this community. If you're a Seminole like me, this is your store. Garnet and Gold. Go Noles.
Amendment 4 campaign is funded by George Soros and his radical allies, the same people trying to strip away parents' rights and push gender ideology in schools are trying to overturn parental consent on abortion. Amendment 4 isn't about freedom. It's about taking power.
Time to head out on our annual guys fishing trip. Wait, where's Jimmy?
He just texted me saying he has to swing by his storage unit to get a couple of things. And now there's a truck blocking him in and he won't be here for another hour.
That wouldn't have happened if he had just called Southeast Portable Buildings and got a unit right on his property.
I love mine. I have so much more space in my garage. Now I can finally park my truck in there.
Give them a call today, 850-580-6400. That's 850-580-6400. Or visit them online for all their options at southeastportablebuildings.com.
I'll never forget
that moment.
As long as I live. My first call ever as a member of the National Guard.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires. They were getting dangerously close to homes.
Helicopters were going out to drop water on the fires. Guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Florida National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
red zone appearances, couple missed field goals. They are that close to being over on the season. Not that winning one game makes you feel appreciably better, but imagine if they were over.
Got to admit, kind of does.
Imagine if they were 0-9. Oof. They're not, Jeff. They're 1-8, and don't you forget it. Yeah, it's tough. It's fitting that it's already getting dark outside. Getting dark early. Getting late early.
Oh man, here we go.
Getting late early.
Pissed off about the sunlight.
No, I am pissed off about that, but it's getting late early, and that's a perfect reflection of this sorry-ass football team this year. Another game, another loss, a non-competitive one at that. Do you say that the college football playoff and projections and the show that we've never watched or won't watch suddenly becomes somewhat interesting tomorrow? Good luck letting everybody know how it is you came up with the 12 you got going now, or your top 25 as of today. It's a mess.
I think they should just go with the FPI, Jeff.
Oh.
Alabama's number 3 in the country in the FPI.
They'll try. I got to find some metric because the SEC is in trouble right now. They're all sitting around going, really? Indiana's going to get into the playoff? This is the thing that we've talked about where you're kind of like, this is, if we were in the SEC or the Big Ten, I have to tell you, I'd be like, come on, man, now. The Signetti story's cool and all, but who have they beaten? Come on now. You know you'd say it if the shoe was on the other foot.
You know what? Indiana is number 10 in the ESPN FPI, so they must be a pretty good team. Alabama's number 3. Ole Miss is number 6. Tennessee's number 8. There you go.
There are a whole lot of you better win out situations that exist right now in college football. It's nuts. That first CFP top 12 probably going to get a decent number because I think a lot of people are going to be curious. Look, it's easy to say Oregon's 1. It's easy to say that Ohio State's likely 2, Georgia 3, or you could put Georgia 2 and Ohio State 3, however you want to do it. Some of these are no-brainers. But then it does begin to get interesting. You know, Miami and Texas will be in that top 6. But then you get into, okay, where now? How many Big 12 teams? 8-0 BYU, certainly going to be in that top 12, right? They will be. Who else is going to be in there?
BYU is not in the ESPN FPI top 25.
They're going to be in the top 12.
Just letting you know.
I'm letting you know they're going to be in the top 12.
Tulane is, however.
Penn State will. Tennessee will. Very quietly, by the way, Tennessee, who you and I both are kind of like, yeah, they're 7-1. Now, they play Georgia on November the 16th, so we shall see. Boise State will be in that top 12. Notre Dame will be in that top 12. Indiana will be in that top 12. It's interesting.
It does, but then you have to remind yourself that show means nothing. They're just going to titillate for a month, and then they'll get to their real picks. You could be 21st in the ESPN FPI, or sorry, certainly you can, but you could be 21st in the college football playoff rankings before college football championship Saturdays, and they're going to have you in. And they'll magically move you up 7 spots, 9 spots, whatever it takes.
Look, I think you get into some trouble with that, though, this year. I do believe that you're going to have a hard time if there's, let's say there's 2. Now, it became really interesting with some of the results you got out of the Big 12 this weekend. Seeing Kansas State lose in the manner that they did was kind of shocking. You had a couple of losses in that league that you would not have guessed were going to happen, which kind of changed the shape of this thing. It's interesting. Penn State almost solidified their place despite losing yet again, because that's what Franklin does against anybody who's good. But they're set for right now. Notre Dame is loving life right now, too. The toughest game they have left, I guess, is only on paper because Southern Cal's not good. And they play them November the 30th. So we shall see if Southern Cal is even playing hard by then.
Well, it could be Army. And the question I have about Army, I genuinely don't know the answer to this. the playoff committee makes its decision before Army-Navy. So, like, if Army's undefeated, but they still have to play Navy, is there a provisional thing where the committee says, well, if Army wins, they get this spot? And you know how they do sometimes with they show the playoff bracket schedule. And like, well, game 1 of the next series begins the winner of tonight's game. Are they going to do something like that if Army could qualify as the top-rated group of 5 team? Because if Army is undefeated, by nature, that means they will have beaten Notre Dame in a week's time after we play Notre Dame. I wonder how they would handle that situation. Now, that's only 1 spot out of 12, but that's not insignificant.
Yeah, it's not. Pitt gets beat up by SMU over the weekend. Rhett Lashley's bunch drops 48 in that game, now tied with Miami as the only undefeated teams in league play. Clemson losing at home to Louisville means thanks for playing. They're pretty much done at this point. Crazy to think about.
They were running the play clock down inside at 10 seconds on the regular. Late third quarter, all fourth quarter. It was like what Mac Brown did, now victorious over Florida State, years ago in Chapel Hill. He was in no rush, down multiple scores to Jordan Travis and the Noles. We're saying, Mac,
what are you doing?
Mac, a little bit of
why are you doing that?
Dabo, unreal.
Let's get on the hurry. How about South Carolina, by the way? Another result over the weekend that maybe we didn't see coming.
Ooh, that was throttling.
44-20 over Texas A&M, who I think is pretty well coached. I like Elko a lot, but that was an ass beating. It's gotten kind of interesting, I have to admit. I mean, I don't love that the regular season results of certain games don't matter as much. For example, in yesteryear, as we've said before, you lose to Vandy, you're probably not going to the bowl you wanted to go to. You're probably not playing for a national title. You can survive those sorts of things now. Northern Illinois beating Notre Dame under the old system, you would have said, pretty cool of you, Notre Dame, to go 11-1. Sorry, you lost to Northern Illinois. They're unranked. You're not going. So there are too many get-out-of-jail-free cards, but there's also real intrigue this late in the year in every conference with a lot of teams still in the mix to make the postseason. That's the part that you like. That's the shot in the arm for college football in that way.
Are we going to run into a circumstance, though, where there's a team playing in a conference championship game that has its place assured, but it won't earn a bye if they win? So there is no incentive beyond a banner.
Yeah.
To play for its conference championship game and keep all of its players in. Like, are we going to run into that this year? It's certainly possible as we sit here today, but I wonder if that's actually going to bear out to where I can't think of a team that would fit that mold right. Maybe Georgia. You know, if it's Georgia, Texas in the SEC championship game, but with a win, who knows if they get a bye? I don't know. You need to be farther down the rung. There could be a situation, though, where a team is playing either their final regular season game or a conference championship game, and they say, well, we're already in. So we might roll some second stringers out there in the second half.
Think about this situation. You've got a good one this weekend, and it is a playoff eliminator. It is happening this Saturday. LSU, Alabama, 7:30 ABC. Loser's not going to the playoff. The loser will have 3 losses, and that is it. Thanks for playing. You're done. I'll tune in. Oh, I'll be at Notre Dame.
You'll be at Notre Dame. Yeah.
Should be a compelling matchup I'll be watching. I'll have to check in on my
I wonder
phone.
how their Wi-Fi is. You'll put it to the test, I'm sure.
What happened, son? Oh, we scored. Well, for LSU, their whole season's this right here. They've got Alabama and Florida back-to-back weeks. Florida's still playing hard, although that kid at third string didn't look like he could play a lick.
They got some interesting news today, though, from Napier. You saw that, where they said
Lagway's not as bad as they thought it was?
That there's a path to him returning potentially.
How quickly?
That he did not say.
Yeah, it needs to be for that game. By the way, LSU, not easy. They, after that, have Vanderbilt, which we now know. Not a team you can overlook.
They have dropped out of the top 30, though, it would appear, in the FPI.
Oh, Florida.
No, Vandy.
Oh, Vandy.
No, Florida's 25th. Yeah, they're all the way up to 25. That's why if I was Brian Kelly, get the big win this weekend over Alabama after thanking my family. I would talk about huge win over the number 3 team in the country, according to the most important metric.
Tigers got it done.
We must now be inside the top 8 by my math in this football power index.
I do think I would love very much to see Indiana somehow make the college football playoff this year. It makes me laugh.
How about Indiana, Tennessee for a first-round matchup? There you go.
High-scoring affair. Of the teams that we're debating getting in and where we sit with the upcoming games, again, tomorrow those rankings come out. I know it's a made-for-TV event. They can kind of just make it up as they go along and do whatever they want. But it is 12 this year, and it is going to be interesting to see how they comprise that 12 because you get a lot of the weird sort of, they do have 2 losses, but they've actually played the toughest or one of the toughest schedules in the country, and this team has 1 loss or none, and they've played nobody inside the top 40. And that does matter. I mean, you do have to have that conversation.
I think there should be a flow chart for that. Maybe we can build one. If the team with the I've played nobody resume is in the SEC, move them forward. It's like, yes, no, yes, okay, move them forward. They are number 11. If that team is not in the SEC, even in the Big Ten, yes, okay. But 16th? 16th?
You get ranked.
Play a schedule.
You get ranked. Yeah.
You're on the outside. You have work to do.
How would you rank it as of right now? If you had to, right? So would you say you think Oregon's the best team in the country? They've played the best.
Despite being 7th in the FPI, I might have them at number 1.
And then you'd have Georgia at 2.
Yeah, I think the first 5 or so are kind of in stone.
Well, it gets into...
It's Texas, Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, and...
Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, because of the undefeated thing.
Yeah,
kind of annoying.
You can hate their defense, but they score 50 points every week, it seems. So
Notre Dame's in that top 10.
What about undefeated BYU? Hater.
Well, if you just consult the flow chart, are they a part of the SEC? Yes or no? Checking my notes.
Big 12. So what do they get? What kind of
14th?
Okay.
14th. I mean, look, if they win all their games, they're going to be in, guys. This is where I would say, all right, Kirk, I need you to be indignant tonight.
Yeah.
On the set. Now, I know that you work remotely for most of these. So from your own home, I need you to summon it. Pretend Pollock is still on the set and say, well, guys, what are we talking about? If they win all their games, they're in.
Indiana, 9-0. Won every game by double digits despite not playing anybody any good at all.
You field the phone call from Fox and CBS to a degree.
What are they willing to spend?
Well, you say, okay, we could play ball here. We could use a couple of pro SEC remarks from you guys, but we'll give you this one. We'll put them at 8. Make it a sexy thing. Look at Indiana. Look at the Big Ten. It's just these are 2 power networks trying to scratch each other's backs.
All right, so there's Penn State, there's Tennessee, there's Notre Dame, there's Boise, and there's SMU.
We're going to elevate Boise in that situation because you've got a Heisman candidate. So we're going to go with Boise over SMU.
What would you say the Crimson Tide 3-2 in the SEC, which we all know is the greatest league of all time? Yeah, but they lost to Vanderbilt. Hey. They lost an SEC game is how you phrase that, sir.
Once again, this one's not hard. They're number 3 in the FPI. So we're going to put them at 11th or 12th. Right. And you get the debate going because it's going to make people really mad that Alabama is still on the inside of this conversation. So great engagement from a top-tier brand, number 3 in the ESPN FPI. Great way to cross-promote our FPI. This is what we're going to do.
I've got an interesting one for you. What do you do with the pseudo-defunct Pac-12? Oh, you ask why? Don't look now. Washington is a top 20 team, 7-1. Their lone loss was a great game on the road against Boise State. What are you doing with the Pac-12's own Washington State Cougs?
Well, certainly they're going to be in the top 25.
Okay.
From there, I don't know. Maybe put them above SMU.
Above SMU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because F them. That's why.
They got Utah State, New Mexico, Oregon State, and Wyoming left. They're going to go 11-1, and that's going to be funny. 11-1, and you're going to be like, no, you're not going in.
That Boise game mattered. That's a big difference.
Got to win the game on the road at Boise. What can I tell you?
Gene T, ratings.
Do you think that if Lagway had not left the game with injury, Florida beats Georgia?
Ooh, buddy.
It was looking that way, wasn't it?
So first of all, it took another 2 hours.
Carson Beck, that was a pure ass performance on Saturday.
He will do that from time
He
to
was
time.
single-handedly trying to make sure Florida won the game. And all credit to Florida, man. Napier has got that team playing really, really hard. They care. It's the shame of all of what we're seeing here at Florida State. Like a year ago, Florida State was so far ahead of Miami and Florida that you didn't give it a second thought. You just moved on with your life saying, all right, well, let's see what's next in the way of challenges for Florida State. It'll probably be Clemson again next year. And you just moved on. You weren't completely dismissive, because unfortunately, one of the great knocks against Mike is that even when Florida was down and even when Miami was down and Cristobal was 12-13 coming into this year, they were still out recruiting to a large degree Mike Norvell. And that was tough to stomach. So you didn't completely dismiss it, but you were interested in big game hunting. You were beginning to talk about the Alabamas and the Georgias and the other teams of the world and how soon you could catch that level of depth of talent is what the conversation was. As we sit here this afternoon, you are well behind Miami right now. Now, we'll see. It should be pointed out that a lot of Miami's roster leaves at the end of this year were rentals, and that includes the quarterback, who's really been the straw that stirs the drink. And so we'll see. And Florida's got Lagway, who they should be very excited about and are very excited about. This is another reason that you're bummed as a Florida State fan.
They have the most assured future in this moment. Florida does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. The problem Florida now has, though, is that while they were feeling good about how hard they've played and how well they have fought and how well Lagway has played at times and looked at times, he's now out. They did lose.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to continue to lose because this is a stretch of games that is not easy.
Yeah, that game took another 2 hours from the point where he was hurt to finish.
Yes,
we were well into our post-game show by the time that game went final. It turned into this other thing. It was a completely different game.
The kid from Yale at quarterback couldn't play, and then you knew it was over. As long as your boy Carson Beck stopped throwing picks, Georgia was going to win.
I just wonder what he'll go in the first round, but is he the top quarterback taken?
Well, he had to have done
enough
some,
of these.
Yeah, he did it. There were some serious ugly moments in that game. He's just straight throwing into triple coverage.
Yeah.
Texas plays Florida this weekend.
If I'm Miami, I try and make the move for Lagway in no uncertain terms. Miami already has done that before. We know in our backyard. Nobody's in the portal. How do these guys know they have an offer if they're not in the portal? So I would do that same thing for Lagway and offer him millions upon millions of dollars to be the quarterback for the next few years. So that way I cover for the game day farce that is my head coach.
Right.
And I keep that machine rolling. But that's their answer. Miami should use this success and make an illegal tampering offer to DJ
There's
Lagway.
no illegal anything anymore, my friend.
Yeah, that's true. But if Lagway stays in Gainesville, they have the best and clearest path of the big three.
I'm a tampering Jesse as we speak right now. If I'm Mike Norvell, I just got done firing 5 coaches. The next thing I did was illegally tamper with somebody else's roster. And then I hung up the phone and dialed the next person that I was illegally tampering with, which was followed by the next person that I was illegally tampering with. And oh, by the way, Tom, I'll do you one better. Not only am I tampering with others' rosters, boldly, I might add, I am providing inducements. Whoa! That's the kind of rule breaking that Coach Cameron's doing around here. I'm tampering with your roster, and just so you think I'm not playing nice, I did offer inducements.
That's right, son. I will drop the deuce in inducement.
Hookers, cocaine, money. It's kind of fun and games we got playing around here in Tallahassee. It's a miniature Athens all of a sudden here. Come on in. Water's warm?
Is that Nevin Shapiro on Florida State's sidelines?
Had a change of heart. Realized the error in his ways. No, I wouldn't invite Nevin Shapiro, but I would do what I needed to do. salvage this great job.
Why is Frank Haith on our sidelines?
Every guy that you could ever name that was guilty of all of these things.
New athletic director Donna Shalala here.
No, she never wanted to invest. Donna Shalala didn't invest. Miami was sucked all those years. You can't have that. You keep Donna as far away from me as possible.
It's all about the FSU.
Pitch and Pity Pools and Spas have everything you need for pool maintenance. Chemicals, cleaners, pumps, vacuums, nets, covers. They got it. How about a free hot tub for an inducement for our recruits that were trying to get to flip here, guys? Let's do it. My friends at Pinch and Penny might be down. I can't commit to something like that, but if you have an older hot tub, they will commit to coming out and getting it for you. As long as you're going to take that sucker, they're going to haul it away. Put that towards your new hot tub. It's a solution for you. There it is. Pitch Penny Pools and Spas. Huge selection, including the new 5-seater. Pitch Penny Pools and Spas. If you're ready to relax, they're ready to show you how.
Barman, you look so twisted. What did you do now?
Well, Hank the alligator needed his teeth brushed, and when I bent over to give him a scrub, my back popped like an afternoon lightning storm in Florida. And now I can't even stand up.
You need to go to benchiro.com and schedule your new patient appointment right away at benchiro.com. That's FENNCHIRO.com.
I'm really busy. I don't want to leave Hank in the orange grove unattended for too long.
Ben Chiropractic will get you in right away, and they get to the cause of your problems. So go to benchiro.com and make your new patient appointment. There's even an online discount.
Discount? That's a good thing because my purse is a little light since I bought Hank a new gold chain.
You have to take care of yourself if you want to be able to take care of your alligator, Hank. Make your appointment now. Go to benchiro.com.
Well, hold my pina colada. I'm going to benchiro.com.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds
there's
of.
There's like families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch
or the Yeti, right?
Yeah,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And I've
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
This is Jay of Paul's Termite and Pest Control. There are many companies out there selling pest treatment programs at prices which seem too good to be true. Like most things, you get what you pay for. Let's separate the fact from the fiction. Fiction. The price these companies offer includes all visits needed to keep a home pest-free. Fact. Their prices only include regular visits for exterior treatments. If you encounter pests inside your home, these companies will charge you for additional visits. Is that really pest prevention? At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we always apply exterior treatments, but our plan includes a significant difference. Whenever you encounter an interior problem, Paul's technicians are there, usually the same day you call, and there is no extra charge. With ProShield, you'll never pay extra for providing the service we promised. Pest prevention for your home, and we'll be there as many times as needed to honor our commitment with no extra charge. Paul's Termite and Pest Control is a local company that proudly served the Tallahassee area for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites and any other pests,
call Paul's. We'll get them all.
And we make lawns greener, too.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand, call Consolidated Credit now. If the interest rates on your credit cards are so high, it'll take years to get out of debt. Call Consolidated Credit now. They've helped over 10 million people without destroying your credit. They can reduce your interest rates, lower your total payments up to 50% to get you out of debt fast. For a free consultation, call Consolidated Credit now. The program works.
Call 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298. Consolidated Credit Solutions Incorporated, 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida 33313. Licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Kansas CSO 0019051. Maryland DM 1492. Oregon DM 892. Licensed by the Virginia State Corporation Commission, license number DC83. Service may adversely affect the individual's credit. Non-payment of debt may lead to additional finance charges or collections activity, including legal action. Actual interest rates, length of program, and monthly payment reductions will vary by consumer and creditor. Yours could be higher or lower. Not a loan company. We do not lend money.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Yeah, in the meantime, we've been wondering about anything other than the lawsuit, right, with Florida State and the ACC. I feel like I wish I could turn my attention in a streamlined way to that thing and find out how soon we can get out of here, because that is going to help dictate terms financially about what you would or would not be able to do in a lot of ways.
If that news came down like in this instant and there was a settlement agreed to and we were, free and clear by 2026.
Yes.
That would undo 95% of how I feel in this moment. Because I would say, all right.
Oh, yeah, now you're cooking with gas, man. You got money.
You're giving me a timestamp. You're telling me by this time we are playing in the big leagues with the amount of money that is necessary, not just to do right by football, but all of a sudden I get excited for hoops too. I go, oh, well, hang on a minute now. You give Link Jarrett a little bit extra money. You fix the football program. Got a little money that we could sprinkle towards basketball. We got something we're cooking with here.
All kinds of pump for baseball already. Yeah, and then you actually have some money. That'd be nice.
I'm really about 4 or 5 times a week. I'm thinking about, I can't wait to get out to the Oaks for a pregame. Like that's what I'm thinking about right now. It's just the Oaks. Doak.
Florida's First District Court of Appeals has denied the ACC's attempt to halt FSU's lawsuit against the conference. You guys know that's because of the dispute over media rights and revenues. In a 13-page decision issued today, the judges refused the ACC's request to stay the case, pending the outcome of an ACC suit against FSU, which is, of course, filed up in North Carolina. The ACC argues that under the principle of priority, the trial court should have stayed the FSU's board's action pending the disposition of the ACC suit filed against in North Carolina, which involves the same parties and the same issues. Because the trial court did not depart from the essential requirements of the law in denying the ACC's motion to stay, we deny its petition on the merits. So that is what Judge Joseph Lewis wrote in his opinion. The ACC filed suit, as we well know. I can stop here. That's enough legal jargon for now. Denied. That's what you need to know.
So Florida is proceeding.
Florida Appeals Court denied the ACC's attempt to halt the FSU case.
So be it.
Yep. Florida is proceeding. And I saw that earlier today. It happened this morning, and it gets obviously buried because we lose another football game and look terrible doing it. By the way, I didn't get a chance to mention it today on the show, but I thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with everybody after the game. That was fun with you, buddy, on Saturday early evening into the night. I felt like it was a cathartic sort of thing in a weird way. Yeah, it was a cathartic sort of deal. If you missed it, Tom and I filled in for Gene, who was out of town this weekend, which good for him. And I filled in, and I thought we had a good time talking to callers and hearing the feedback, man.
Yeah, it's amazing to me consistently on that show how reasonable the takes are. It's not a sloppy, Feinbaumish list of callers. It's almost like they screen looking for that, but we have an outstanding collection of 4 to 6 regular callers. But I think we took closer to 15 this time.
Yeah, it took a lot. Yeah,
and they're measured. They're just pissed. But it wasn't coming apart at the seams. The most logical among us in this fan base are rightfully furious.
Oh, furious.
And or apathetic.
I'm not apathetic yet, but that's dangerous, and it's what comes next with a lot of people, and that's the last thing Florida State can afford to have happen. They are in a bad way over there as an administration / athletic department. You've got I'm serious. I mean, we bring this up a lot. Michael Alford, the athletic director, is in a bind. And there are, this is not helped by the fact that, Tom, there are a lot of weird rumors around that athletic department and the relationship between the athletic director and the president. You hear really wild rumors on the regular about how many of the administrators that are a part of this athletic department are going to be here in the next few years. How many of them want to be here? I mean, you hear a lot of weird things. I don't know what's true, what's not.
You think that's 1 and 8 talking for football, the cash cow?
I think it's both. I think it's certainly, you're going to hear all kinds of speculation when you're 1 and 8. I think you're going to, I mean, the stuff that's out on a daily basis surrounding both the football team, the coaches, administrative, you name it, all of it. These are the things that get talked about when you're 1 and 8. We talk about noise in the system. Every coach at one point has lamented. And I mean, any place in which there's a controversy or losses are mounting or speculation has begun, coaches, administrators will often say, there's so much noise in the system and it doesn't make our job any easier. And they're usually used as a deflection to a hard question when they're cornered at some point, whether that be at a fundraiser or by a member of the press or whatever it is. But yeah, you can expect that that's only going to grow louder and louder and louder in the coming days. How could it not?
Yeah, I just feel like when you go 1 and 8 and everybody's voicemails are full and their email inboxes are lit up, and sometimes you have the random person sitting outside an office, they want to give you a piece of your mind.
Yeah.
I'm sure that kind of weird stuff happens everywhere. But that births cover my ass season, CYA season, where everybody is trying to get the word out that, hey, man, I didn't do anything wrong.
Right,
it's
right.
them. It's their fault. It's not my fault. So I just wonder if that's part of it at 1 and 8, where everybody's trying to make sure that you understand. And by you, I mean whoever they're speaking to. It's not my fault. They're the ones to blame.
If you were to walk around over there and run into coaches and run into administrators, they're going to toe the company line. They're going to tell you they're working hard to repair the damages being done on a weekly basis. They're going to tell you that there is a path and a method out of this, that they have a plan. They're going to tell you all those things. I mean, what you would want to do is end up in one of those big games like we've been to, Tom, in the past, covering a Florida State LSU game, for example, or a game in Atlanta or whatever it might be, where you could have a real dinner and a real sit down, and perhaps the drinks are flowing and people begin to have honest dialogue about what is a mess, what isn't a mess, what can be fixed, and what is a real problem long-term. Right now would be a great time to have those kinds of conversations that we've had in the past with sources and others, kind of let you know what's what. I think there is a lot of finger pointing. It's the Spider-Man thing, I'm sure, to some degree.
Yeah.
But at 1 and 8, man, ultimately, the people in the highest positions of power. So if you say football is a problem, where do you begin? Well, you start by, and the head coach has told you, the buck stops with me. So you would have to start with your problems with Mike. You would say, Mike, hey, I get it. These coaches have failed. You're going to replace these coaches. But ultimately, this performance every week is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. So that's on you. Got it. The athletic director, I brought it up earlier today. I'm not saying fire Michael Alford. I'm saying that these things get uglier and louder every day that goes by. And when your football program is going through this kind of upheaval, and your basketball program's not any good, and in theory should be the two biggest money makers in athletics for you, neither are any good at all, eventually people stop saying, oh, well, that coach and this coach and that assistant, and they say, what about that guy, the athletic director? And he's got to know that's the next thing that's coming.
Oh, sure. I mean, this is something I think we talked about on Saturday too. Thought about it for a few weeks. You lose a game, it's a player or a position coach. You lose a few games, it's a coordinator. You lose a handful of games, it's the head coach. And if you lose 8 out of 9, it's the athletic director.
Yeah.
It just goes up the ladder. This is how the stuff piles up, and it goes up the ladder. I suppose if we finish 1-11, if the president would be the one that people want to get fired. I don't know.
I don't know if they want him fired, but they would want him to weigh in. Like a lot of times they just want the president to be out of it.
Yeah.
Hey, you're the president of the university.
Yes. God knows we've had too many presidents.
Who want. Yes.
Yeah.
So you know, but at this point they'd be like, hey, you need to come in, and these guys don't know what they're doing. Clean house. None of these people know what they're doing.
But that's the way that the fan interaction has gone over this season. It goes up one level at a time. The other hard part you have, because here's the one thing that Alford is known for. Everywhere he's been, he finds a way to generate revenue and fundraise.
Tough task right about now.
Well, and you're going to need fundraising more than ever this next offseason. How the hell are you going to pull that off? Like, what moves the needle enough that you can hit the ground? You're going to have to do that. Grassroots campaign to get Florida State some money. You're going to have to call Derek Brooks and Warwick Dunn, because I don't know that anybody on the active staff has that kind of pull where a Seminole club is going to show up.
Oh, man. It couldn't get more frustrating.
Derek, we're in trouble. Can you hit 5 towns with us this spring? We'll get you the dates later, but we need somebody that people are going to show up and see and not boo. Okay, sure, no problem. How much will you pay me? Well, that's the thing, Derek. We were hoping you could defer that.
I got to be honest with you. I am curious to see, Mike is very, very good on those tours, very, very good going to talk to alumni and boosters alike throughout the state and the region at the end of every year as we look ahead. It was very easy to do. That's going to be a very different pitch. That is going to be a very interesting pitch. I mean, I am almost as intrigued by that kind of stuff. The people with the pockets, right, that are being asked for more. This is a critical time and an impossible job to go back to those people, many of whom are repeat givers, if you will. These are people. Florida State is not like a lot of the old school money universities that have been around for 150 years. That's not like, we're not like that. We're a newer institution, if you will. You don't have generational wealth, if you will, passed on to the degree many of the schools that you compete with do. And so what's happened is that's gotten better over time, of course. The longer we live and the more graduates then have kids and then they have kids and they have kids and successful businesses and the like, it gets better. But we've lamented for years that in many cases, Florida State doesn't have a fully endowed set of scholarships for athletes. It's in some sports. It's very, very frustrating. They've survived by 4 or 5 heavy hitters that give a lot of money, that care deeply, that have always cared deeply, and have made exceeding amounts of money to where they could give $3 or $4 or $5 million a year.
Many of them, their names because they're on buildings and fields and so forth.
Right. If you lose any one of those people because of this nonsense, it gets tough to really recover. I don't know what you do. And then you would have to dance with the devil.
McDonald's Stadium, first of all.
Private equity. You'd have to go and dance with the devil.
Yep. I asked somebody who might know, and they told me, because I love this stuff too, because this is empire building.
Yeah.
If you could take your Knoll cap off for a moment and just say, well, how do you fix this problem? If it was a business or an organization or you were Coach Cameron on College Football 25, how do we get there? That's fascinating. It's a fascinating study. But it would be tough without building a football-only facility and without renovations to the stadium and without NIL and without buyouts that are massive. It would be tough. With all of those factors, I don't know where it's coming from. One of the great fundraisers in that athletic department is your buddy and mine, the golf coach. Maybe you ask him because he found a way to make that thing happen.
Yeah, Trey's excellent. Has done a great job and is excellent at what he does on and off the course. Yeah, but this is...
You're going to need like 10 of those people to devise a strategy.
I can't imagine. I would love to be a part of, but also want to run away from that whole endeavor.
How about a state network of car washes? 3 per county throughout the state.
You're out there in a shirtless, swinging around. You're just out there in your Speedo.
Get Red Lightning out there.
Florida State Car Wash. Let's go, everybody. This Thursday, joining with my friends at Tried and True Consulting, we are going to have an opportunity to Barrel Proof Lounge. Going to host us. We're going to be hanging out and raising money and collecting cans of food for the second harvest of the Big Bend. We could all use a happy hour. I think it's 4 to 7:30 is the event, and we hope you swing by. You'll get, if you contribute to the cause, some free drinks, a couple free drinks for everybody that swings in. Music right there in Midtown. It's a good day for it. It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait. I need this event. I'm ready for this event. But more importantly, our friends at the Second Harvest of the Big Bend are the ones benefiting, and they do great work. Great work to help people that are in real dire straits. We're talking about football dire straits. These are people that are in real dire straits when it comes to something as simple as food, right? So please help out.
Yeah, they're wired. You speak to any number of the representatives of the Second Harvest as we do for the golf tournament regularly every year.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to see them on tournament day and in the lead ups. And these are individuals who are wired in a special way. And I mean that from here, from the heart.
Yeah.
Because that's all they're in it for. They are talented enough to make a lot of money doing things in private industry, but Second Harvest doesn't pull any punches. They do fantastic work. And our area, once again, the Big Bend's been affected again by another major 100-year event of a storm.
Well, and I'm really proud of my friends at Tried and True who we do business with and who've been advertising with us.
They got heart too.
They got a ton of heart, and they have really kind of proven it. They've said this is what they were going to do when they first jumped on board with the Jeff Cameron show. They wanted to promote their business. They wanted to help fellow Noles, but they said, hey, listen, not for nothing. I mean, we're big believers, and we'll give 10% of our net revenue to the Battle's End. But also, when we get the opportunity and we get up and running and we get some people to sign up, which they have thanks to this advertising and their hard work, we'll do stuff in the community. And this is the first big event. They want to do an extra golf tournament with us. They're talking about doing lots of things that are going to benefit others, great and worthy causes. So I just want to point that out. You want to do business with people who do business with us, but also people who do business in the community to help out above and beyond making money for themselves. And that's what Tried and True Consulting is doing by reaching out with the Second Harvest. So good event. It's this Thursday. I'll talk more about it on Wednesday, especially. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Now, here's your Paul's Termite and Pest Control Tallahassee weather report.
Starting off the week warm, thankfully some rain chances working back into the forecast midweek because we definitely need some rain. Highs in the lower to mid 80s with lows in the 60s. Tonight, partly cloudy, low of 66. Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high of 87, low of 70. Wednesday, a 40% chance of rain with a high of 82. From Real Talk 93.3, this is Danielle Kelly.
For the elimination of termites, pests, and for greener lawn too, call Paul's. They'll get them all.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Imagine for a moment that you are completely weightless in zero gravity. All of the weight and worry of life is melted away, and you fall into a state of profound relaxation. This is what you'll find at Tallulah CBD Mushrooms THC in Railroad Square when you try out their state-of-the-art floating pods. While you're there, shop for the best quality CBD, mushrooms, THC, and kava products available. Shop Tallulah today with 6 locations in Tallahassee and the Kava Bar Lounge in Bannerman Crossings. Online at TallulahSmokes.com.
Siri, tell me a joke.
How many apples grow on an apple tree? All of them.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Bar.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those dark leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Bar Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Bar Construction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
Honey, I'm home.
We're in here, honey.
So why are all my friends here?
Have a seat, Dave. We need to talk about your problem.
Problem? I don't have a problem.
Dave, you do have a problem. A problem with your grill. Here's some pamphlets from Hearth and Patio. They are waiting for your call to help you upgrade your grill.
If you or someone you know needs a grilling intervention, call Hearth and Patio today at 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282 or hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
Pinch a Penny Pools has 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, locally owned, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Jonathan wrote, if Dugans was ineffective such that Keon told recruits not to play for him, how did Mike, as a former wide receiver, not see it before now? Yeah, it's interesting. I would say this. There's a stretch to start last year where it looked like the passing game was going to be just fine, that we were all right at wide receiver. Everything looked good. And then I think just as soon as that looked good is as quickly as it went south when the teams began to realize we couldn't run the ball and couldn't consistently have success on first down. And then you became very predictable and it all began to kind of unravel. And I think it caught him off guard. And I'm sure that an undefeated season helped mask problems within the coaching staff and the process. And I've talked about that a lot. Mike, this is where Mike failed. The wins kept him from really self-scouting in a way that even though you were having success should have revealed we're not getting the most out of what we have. We can do better, both in recruiting and teaching. This is not the way it should look. But wins oftentimes have a way of covering problems within a program. You know, it's or process. Problems within a process is another way of saying it. I mean, we know how that looks because we've done it in our own lives. It sometimes takes something really biting you in the ass. Unfortunately, this is catastrophic. Usually it's something minor where you're like, oh, that was close. I better double check that. A small leak there in the fridge. I better make sure this is not indicative of something else.
The one thing I'd say in terms of development of kids, again, you don't go ahead. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm about to.
There you go. Okay, so now I got you guys. We can talk lightning hockey here. As he's caught. Nope.
You were making a point. Just make the point. I was sneezing.
Right. It's about practice. I never wanted to second guess on the fly because he was flipping the record from 0-4 to where it went, and it was successful. And so, hey, there's many ways to build a program. But now that we're here with brand new data that says we've won once this year, one time, and when the kids come in, they don't look ready. I will say, in the 15 years I've watched practice, or we've been allowed out there, Jimbo's practice method was by far the most
effective,
development friendly.
Yeah, because everybody got reps.
1s and 3s, 2s and 4s.
And
there
it
was
happened.
Action going and going and going. And the thing I'd say about this group is when they go 11 on 11, the rest of the team is watching. You know, like Jimbo's practices would end with that.
Right.
Where you'd have situations, you go up and down the field 11 on 11, 1s v 2s, 2s v 1s, and then they would sometimes go good on good. Those, that was when they closed practices. I think it was Thursdays, they said. Herb Street is famous for bringing that up just before Jameis Winston leads the national championship winning drive in 2013, that when they would come down and watch practices before, you know, the primetime game of the week, they couldn't wait to get to Jimbo's practice for good on good on Thursdays. But the blood and guts of those practices that we got to see, there's constant movement from the top guy on the roster all the way down to the true freshman. And I hope that's one of the things that changes, because when you're talking about development that's not happening, or it looks like kids don't know what they're doing, or I can't trust a true freshman to do this, I'm not saying it fixes all your ills, but in addition to the higher level of physicality in practice, I think that's something that hopefully can help fix some of the issues that we've got.
Oh,
I think things we're pissed off about.
I think you're absolutely right. I do think that's a big thing that is going to change. And this is another one of those things that I think Mike has to understand. And he does. It sounds like he does. That has to change too. And I would be much more physical, by the way, and I'd run the risk. I don't care. It's going to shape us and change us in ways that are more positive.
We're one of the most hurt teams in America anyway.
Correct. You're not salvaging anything. Jalalu writes, Mike's biggest misstep is that he leaned on the portal a year too long. Coach Mike Norvell put all of his cards on the 2023 team. It worked until it didn't. I don't think that's a bad assessment. I think that the successes of the portal led to, obviously, a greater reliance on the portal. Because why wouldn't you? And then it was ever changing. Things are always changing. And you're either out in front of it or you're falling behind. And so I don't think he realized that it wasn't going to be as easy as it was that first year and that second year in the portal, where a lot of programs were very reluctant to use it in the manner that Mike needed to use it. They weren't in the same set of circumstances. So, for example, in fairness to Dabo, he was not in the same set of circumstances at Clemson with his roster when the portal first became a thing. You know, he had been recruiting at an elite level. He had top-tier classes and stockpiled talent. He's like, I'm not bringing in a disruption from another school when I've got 3 years worth of really good recruiting on this defensive line. Why would I bring somebody from the outside? I've just been churning out pros on the defensive line. I'm not bringing in a new one just because somebody's good is available. I've got guys I like who we're working within our system, who we believe are going to take another step forward.
Within our NIL structure, too, so it doesn't upset that apple cart in the locker room.
Right. And so I get why many of the schools didn't jump on board. Mike had no choice, and he rightfully identified it as salvation. I don't have much here as we're currently constructed. I got to win games, and I got to win them sooner rather than later because this is not a very patient fan base. No fan base is of a big-time football program. Nobody. I was talking with somebody today. If Nick Saban had gone 2-10, just somehow tragically misstepped and went 2-10, despite all he had accomplished at Alabama, there'd be people today on an Alabama show going, I think we got to fire him. Maybe they wouldn't, but there'd be people saying it. No, Kev, enough with Cousins. Good for you. I'm glad the Falcons salvaged your weekend.
Hashtag JCS tailgate for Army Navy. I like that part.
I do like that part, no, Kev. Good work out of you, sir. 5 o'clock is the smash. Go Noles tonight with the first tip of the year. We're back tomorrow with Seminole Headlines, Wednesday with the Jeff Cameron Show. Peace.